Welcome to Slop Kings. I'm David, joined by my co-host
Gabriel K. Sinclair, and we have a very special guest. My long-lost e-father has finally come after.
I'm here to do my 6-month supervised visit. I'll take him to McDonald's. I came back from the store. I got a pack of Winston Lights.
A 20-piece chicken nugget. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes as the adult in the room, adulting in the room, and yeah, there's 3 in the slop bucket today because we're covering a big topic, and particularly Gio. I don't know if you know why you're here, but you recently on Digital Archipelago referred to our last Slop King episode as "okay" with a certain surly voice. So we thought you'd come and teach us how to do a real Slop Kings episode. Are you up for that?
Yes, 100%. We got to do this. Baba Booey.
But yeah, as you probably guessed from the thumbnail and all that, we're covering Joshua Citarelli's Doomscroll, and I have I've been following this for a while. I know you guys have at least been aware of it for a bit. People that haven't seen it, in the briefest summary, it's a Joe Rogan style, the Joe Rogan of the left, or at least someone's applying to be the Joe Rogan of the left, having these in-person, edited, well-developed interview series. I'm just curious, your background with it, anything you think, I guess, is interesting in terms of it. We're going to try to go through, I guess, the 3 key aspects here for folks at home. Talk about, what is Doomscroll? Why is it important first? I think this is going to follow on from our Charlie Kirk episode to some extent. We've talked about right-wing slop fiends. Now we're in the left-wing slop fiends. The second part being going over the specific contents and maybe critiques, thoughts on it, and then finally we're going to take a vote. We're going to either crown or not crown Joshua as a slop king. But yeah, go ahead, guys. What's your knowledge?
Well, actually, I would say this is more of a trilogy. I would say this is also ties into our vibe shift video we made a long time ago with Pinocchio.
Oh yeah.
About the vibe shift was so real during the first month of Trump's re-election. It really you felt the copium was so strong you forgot you were huffing it at one point.
Yeah.
But I'm actually very curious. What's your history with Joshua, Papa G?
Well, not much, but in terms of being aware of his content, I think that, and I'm grateful to be on the show, boys. I gotta get that out of the way.
Oh, you're a hero. Thank you for coming.
Baba Booey. Maybe you guys should do a Howard Stern Slop King episode. That'd be great. Now that he's unemployed.
He's a slop antediluvian. He's like an ancient one.
He's Eldritch Slop. Yeah. Artie Lang. The spirit of Howard Stern died when Artie Lang left, in my opinion. But anyways, no, I'm not going to say too much because this was told to me in confidence, but I know for a fact that he has lifted a lot of his thing from people that were doing internet anthropology way before him. And he seems like a nice enough dude until you actually listen to his podcast and you realize that he's trying to do a sort of left-coded simulacra of the alt media that has become so instrumental to, I guess, whatever you want to say, a vibe shift on the political right. And you compared him to Joe Rogan, even though he doesn't have the same base of humor or the same aesthetic as Joe Rogan. But I think it's an apt comparison because there has been for a few years now a tendency on the political left online to scramble for anyone who isn't a toxic Twitch streamer like Hassan Piker or someone like that. And I noticed that Joshua Citarella, he's reviving all of these Bernie era irony left washouts that are trying to in a weird subtle way. And this is where to start off with our episode tonight. I will say that to me, in some ways, it's even more dangerous than the sort of bread tuber clowns that came before, or people on the Antifa far left, because they're essentially trying to rein in as I said before we were recording, they're trying to like rein in the left into making this like progressive, even though they don't like the term neoliberal, but let's face it, that's what it is. Like a sort of like progressive, like transnational progressive, like Obama core Jon Stewart world forever. And they're trying to use a lot of the techniques that rose, certainly like Trumpism and right-wing alt media to prominence. But from what I've gathered, I remember when this podcast began, we all remember the Dasha episode. There is like
90% of our audience will only know him from the one-shot thesis screenshot. That's the only one. Yeah.
That was basically ripped off from Landshark. So to me though, I think there's like, I said this in DA. I said this in reference to my friend Paul Talk's thesis on evil art, where art is in the service of something besides the work of art. He calls it evil art, right? Like if you're ascribing some kind of theory or ideology and you're trying to instrumentalize the work of art to make it something that it's not.
Oh, didacticism, basically.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, thank you, Gabe. Yeah. So essentially, what he is doing, in my opinion, I'm not saying this is like a totally moral thing, although I think the people that he brings on, from my perspective, are totally morally abominable because they're very subtle in their propaganda, right? But I would say it's like evil podcasting. I don't mean this in a strictly moral sense. I mean that the sense that he's trying to be something that you can almost clearly tell he's not, which is to be this like, I'm a creature of the internet, I'm terminally online, I understand these things, and I know why the chuds are radicalized. Even like Taylor Wren said, you know more than anybody. Why these
I'm just like you. I'm just like you.
You know,
we're going to have a 30-minute
chuds...
segment just on the Taylor Wren's episode, by the way.
Yeah, it truly was evil podcasting, yeah. So I think like Joshua Citarella, he's primed himself as a sort of soothsayer, whisperer of the online world to the like sub-mainstream think piece, like kind of on Substack, but like the Atlantic, the New Yorker type of crowd. And they're all like based in New York City or LA. And he's sort of like trying to appeal to like the sub-normie, this like terminally online thing. But in order to do that, he has to like severely rip off people that have came before him. And he also has to like predicate the whole thesis of his podcast, Doomscrolling, on all of his guests being like, quote unquote, from the online world, even though they're all like professional journalist, academia type of people. And so this is why I call it evil podcasting, because it's trying to be a subterfuge for something else. And
it veers into the content side of it, but that's like one of the key points I had that we'll get into more later is so many of these people are talking about, you know, this view, they're on this view from the outside, you know, we can't get in, we can't get our voices out. These right-wing guys get their voices out. And I'm like, motherfucker, you're published by Princeton. The last guest was like a professor at UCLA. The next one is just flies to Germany, flies to Singapore for art shows. Yeah, and it's like this is going into like content stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight what you said, Gio, because it was screaming at me partway through this. And I, similar to you, I started in a much more sympathetic place. And I think I am in a somewhat sympathetic place to where these people are in terms of feeling of political exile with things shifting. But I found myself souring as things went on. I don't want to get too much into the details of it. Do you have anything else, I guess, high level?
Well, some of them are all right. Like I liked Daniel Keller's interview because I think, well, me and Daniel Keller are mutuals, but like, to me, I think that there definitely is a scramble into corralling this frontier. And doom scrolling, I think, is like the head of the spear in terms of how they're going to do it and how they're going to wrestle the narrative away from the political right. And the way I think, but at the same time, he still is sort of like falling into the typical left liberal trap of like, we are the underdog. We are like the Taylor Wren's, I mean, we're getting high ourselves, but like the Taylor Wren's article, like interview was like way disingenuous, terrible. But what I'll say is that I think, he's clearly trying to do something that he thinks has worked for his political enemies. And don't get me wrong, even though he wears this like centrist mask, he definitely is like an enemy of the right. he says this explicitly in a number of places.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like what they're trying to do is like they're trying to do this like Area 51 Bob Lazar reverse engineering of the alien technology. And the way you do this is by not adopting the aesthetic, mind you, because the aesthetic is very like white wall, millennial gray. That's his audience. But in terms of the way that you perceive you and your engagement with your audience and this weird pantomime of outsidedness, I think is like, to him, obviously is a winning formula because he's getting thousands of views. And he's also reviving people that didn't really jump off of their ideological priors the way that like a lot of these other like, you know, post Bernie bro New York City hipsters did. And so I think it's very much like something that is posited as very fresh and new, but also trying to corral something else. And you see like very subtle hints of this. The Catherine, what's her name? Catherine Chu Yu?
YOU, I think it's. You know,
Catherine Yu. Like you very much see
LIU. Sorry.
Yes. Catherine Liu. Yeah. You see this with that in the Fukuyama interview where they're trying to position a niche of the like older pre-existing global liberal order, but doing it in this way that appeals to like the sensibility of being fresh and terminally online, and like we understand the memes, and it's like it's a very, very weird thing. It's not like a lot of, like you mentioned Ezra Klein. Like Ezra Klein, I think it doesn't work with him because he's ultimately a creature of the establishment. Whereas with Joshua Citarella, it works very well because he may have come from like a lot of the pedigree of a similar pedigree of people that he's interviewing, but he can easily slip himself into the role of like, I am this outsider dissident. Right. And I understand what people like. I understand what the young, I understand what these kids are doing. And, but in terms of the technicality of it, like, it's a good format. I mean, he's definitely, he kind of reminds me of Lev in a certain way. Like he doesn't impose, like he will impose his ideas, but he doesn't impose a force of personality, which does serve a like straight up interview show where you're going for the guest and you're not going for the interviewer.
The illusion of the neutral host, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a whole spiel on that, but I want to save it until Gabe, you have a chance to give your high level of how Honor Levy led you to this show or whatever horrific backstory.
Did he interview Honor Levy?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. He probably will.
He will have our sloppy seconds once we have an episode of Honor Levy on Slop Queen.
Who's the?
But in many ways, to get old head, this is what Citrus is trying to do, is that he's basically trying to wrangle the left version of the trichotomy. Like we know the meme about the fix everything switch. You can't flip the switch, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What he's trying to do is we're trying to flip that switch on. The leftist version of this, the abundance version of this, is trying to flip the bio-Leninism switch off, basically. It's that god tier tweet. I forget who tweeted, you can disagree on economics, on policy, but Jens, yes, exactly. Yeah. In front of the show, Jens. If you disagree on, race or identity politics, I mean, not just, identity politics is bad. I mean, sincerely say, no more Gibbs. At least till we get our beautiful trains, till we get urbanism, till we get walkable cities, then you can get back your Gibbs. But just a temporary pause on Gibbs, that's when you get sent into the black hole of leftism. So what Josh was trying to do is taking the overt, not even turn the switch off, just dial the switch down on the bio-Leninism engine, basically. But the engine is going so long, him and Ezra claim, and a reason why we do Doomscroll instead of Ezra Klein's show. Ezra is very aware of the camera, while Joshua, I know it's pretend sincerity, I'm just like you, but there is a sense of when him and his guests, there's a sense of them letting their guard down a little bit, and they speak a little more earnestly, and they get to reveal more because they're talking inside baseball. You get a weird sense of being an infiltrator. It's like imagine leftists watching DA. You know what I mean? You are an outsider, but you somehow managed to get somewhere in the know. You're Donnie Brasco in this thing of ours, except it's in their thing, So you get a sense of a sense of earnestness when you hear him discuss things. When you see him interview Kyle Kalinske. You know, I only know him as that, you know, niggas be hungry tweet. You know, I remember that's all he's known for. I remember maybe way back. And
he was part of the Young Turks, wasn't he?
Yeah, Young Turks in the 2016 days, in the old days. I remember him vaguely, and he complains. And you know what is Joshua's obsession? And I watched multiple of his interviews. He's obsessed. You know, you see all these. He's obsessed with the youth. How do we make the left a youth movement again? Like because from their POV. From their POV, they know that they're aging millennials. Kyle Kalinske reveals something very interesting in his interview, where he says, I look at my YouTube tracker, I look at all my trackers, all my content, and they all are skewing aging millennials. My audience aged with me, Kyle said. There's almost no young blood coming to my show. And Josh was very aware of that. How do we get that? Because, you know, obviously Joshua knows about the no kinks thing. People, they're actually, gynocracy for leftism, gynocracy against Trump, gynoactrics against Trump. You know, they're very aware that they're aging, they're decaying, they're dying. You know, they want, to put it in Spinglerian terms, they want a leftist culture, despite the fact they know they're like an aging civilization point. They know they're stagnant, they're dying, they're trying to get something new and kinky and trying to revitalize that youthful energy. You know, revive the spirit of '68 again. That kind of.
There's a really strong divide, though. I want to hear the rest of it, but like, did you guys notice this too in his guests? There's the over 30 and the under 30 guests.
Yeah.
There's the over 30. I'm an exiled or like highly influential within the academia like Marxist intellectual. I'm like, I can cite Marxist theory at you. Or I'm a streamer and I'm 22 and I execute my dog on camera. Like there's and the depth of conversation is so varied. Like I would actually be very invested in and enjoying these like Marxist thinkers because they have a certain sense of theory. And then you get these dog shit slop episodes with, I was a
11-year-old.
That exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. And it's like this guy's. It's like watching someone talk to their regress to the mean retard son. It's like I can't. This isn't the same content.
That guy was such a charisma suck. That guy was like, he literally was like a cattle slave. Like he has no personality of his own. He's like literally what Colonel Kurtz said in Apocalypse Now in the outtake. He's like, you take the ones who can't think or act, the ones meant for garbage detail. Like, I hate to be that elitist. Like, I know I'm doing like the Vincent Gallo, the pigs, they're scum, I hate them, they're meant for garbage detail, okay? It's like, no, but like he was saying, I was radicalized by Rush Limbaugh, I grew up as a Christian, and like...
Until I discovered weed. Until I discovered weed at 17.
The Daily Show and weed! Like, oh my God! Like,
I think something a lizard person would say to the other lizard person. You hear this guy's story?
The perfect existential cipher for like the soillennial irony leftist. Like it's not even the irony leftist. Some of them can be like quite insightful, or occasionally they could be like, you know, they could read like Marxism occasionally. But this guy, like there's no reading. There's no there. You know, he reaches into his like, you know, bong water stained hands, you touch flash, but there's some kind of abstraction, right? Like it was such a terrible. Then they started talking about what was the conspiracy?
Brainstorming or
no,
mind
CIA,
control?
the FBI
program, the gay program, yeah.
It's a parapolitical schizo left wing, yeah.
It's like, listen to me, I know people, okay? I know a guy that was part of the gay program. You're not part of the gay I'm sorry, dude. You don't have the stuff. You weren't part of the gay. You weren't a gay kid, okay? You weren't like, you know, there was no like black helicopters. There was no bees. There was nothing, okay? Like you weren't a gay kid.
Stolen
but
valor.
I digress.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gabe. I cut off. You still had.
Yeah,
more
you were
on
saying something.
No,
summary.
but again, well, we were discussing titling this, and this the 7 layers of hell, or 7 layers of the left alone. What happens when the left is left alone, or they feel like they're left alone, or they no longer have the spotlight, right? Because you have the Fukuyama types, the aged statist neoliberal. My God, I just want the New Deal again. You know, where he talks about, I'm an abundance liberal, and I believe Ezra Klein. And Fukuyama actually said something very interesting in his interview. He's like, it's such a shame, or it's such a shame that the Overton window is expanding. has expanded. He said it's something along
Yeah.
those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but not by much. He worships the Overton window. He just wants the Clinton Reich forever, basically. And like he becomes a parody of what people thought the end of history was. The book, you know, I read that book. I actually thought it was a decent book overall. Fukuyama's not a dumb guy, but he just becomes totally subservient. Where we need to cut the red tape, but fuck fascism and fuck with people who make executive decisions. But I loved FDR. Like he would criticize. He brought up Yarvin. And he's like, oh man, Yarvin sucks and he's monarchist. It goes against American principles. But then he'll go to I missed a New Deal when FDR would just build things and just executive fiat.
No introspection.
Well, see with the Kathy Liu woman, like where they were like, why can't we do like the Chinese? Why can't we just like jail Elon Musk? Because like, okay, I'm not the biggest Elon Musk fan, obviously, but like, jail him for what? Because he like let the frogs post memes on Twitter again? Like, it's just.
Well, don't you know Taylor?
Yeah.
Well, don't you know Taylor Wren says the left is silenced and censored on social media. There is no left social media anymore.
Yeah, there's no leftist social media. That was a great take. That was like that. But we'll get to it. Yeah, I'm sure you want to say something.
I before we get into the content, because I'm champing at the bit to like go into, and we just kind of like hit key episodes and key trends like that. The one thing I want to do before we dive in is, boys, this is Slop Kings. What do we think of his slop methodology? Because we've been talking more like political concepts and the big, culture war shit. Like, but what as a Slop King, like, give me a teaser where you think he stands.
I would say he's moderately successful because you'll get the popular guys like Hassan. Like, no one cares about Kyle Kalinske anymore. Like, he's he's a cardboard cutout. He's like, oh, the Chuds think they're punk rock. Well, punk rock is standing side by side by your trans brothers and sisters. Again, almost a direct quote, by the way. It's like something straight out of like 2014. Like, these like trans brothers and sisters, we're punk rock. It's like so stale. But then you'll get like genuine Slop Kings, like Hassan. Let's be honest, he is probably the most quote unquote
love
organic.
him or hate him.
Love him. He is a Slop King, yeah.
He is a Slop King, and same getting Anthony. I did not watch the Anthony Fantano one. Like the whole what Gio says about the evil marketing or evil art. Like that's Anthony. I did not watch the Anthony Fantano.
Same.
So
I got the ick pretty bad. I made it like 3 minutes in.
It's like it's the you can smell a rat and you can smell it with Fantano. It's so crass and whole Fantano arc for years and years and years. It's just he's like, oh please don't hurt me, please I'll become leftist. I'm sorry for making jokes back in 2015. Like it's like a hostage situation. It's like when Solzhenitsyn talked about like the guy who was like pounding concrete and pounding in the coal mines, and he still loves Stalin. He's like, oh, Stalin must have made a mistake. I must have done something wrong, or like that kind of. That's what you feel like with him or Andrew Callahan, which is the slop. So yeah, again, the 7 layers of the left alone left with
You're
him.
really trying to push this title, aren't you? You're really advocating this.
I thought listen, it would be a good theory essay titled "Left Alone." I thought it was a good title. But,
that is a good title. I would rate that.
And you got the Slop episodes with Fantano, Hassan, and Andrew Callahan, and there's a base jester retard truth, because Kyle will give the boilerplate. It's true. Andrew Callahan is there's a weird.
I love my stepson.
There's a truth to this. Andrew Callahan, like he's just like, dude, my best friend from college would give me anarchist books, so I was always an anarchist, right?
Speaking of existential ciphers, yeah,
that's what he said basically. Andrew Cannon's like, yeah, people like, I would describe myself as leftist, but then I would see leftists do something cringe. I don't describe myself as a leftist. They don't like Cannon says something very the Chuds, but in flyover country, understand people in New York far more than New York understand people in the boonies. And actually, and Citrus, Joshua actually did confirm this and actually agree with this, but for much more diabolical reasons. And Callahan said something along the lines of, like, you get people uppity about saying retard. And he gave the cold take, I think the CIA infiltrated culture. You know how they killed MLK? I think after Occupy, it's the most like basic Bernie bro analysis of the culture war. It's like, I think the CIA infiltrated 4chan and infiltrated Occupy Wall Street. And, everything is controlled by right-wing billionaires now. And then he was, and then he will say something like, "Oh yeah, do you know George Soros is buying like normie channels? Like George Soros's foundations, one of the 101 foundations he has. They bought Hot Ones, like that eating spicy wings show." And then Citrus didn't even believe it. I was like, "Oh yeah, you can look it up." And he's like, not even that bad of a journalist. I had friends who actually liked his show, All Gas No Breaks. And Talent's like again presents very retarded. He does not like analyze his priors in the slightest, but he's a intelligent enough to speak the truth in very prescient ways. The way like the carbon cutout Kyle can't. Like he's much more fluid in his thinking than Kyle is.
That goes without saying. Kyle Kalinske truly is like low grade.
Kalinske.
Yeah.
Well,
Kyle Kalinske.
The guest selection is weird. That actually was one of the things I wanted to mention in terms of his slop ability. He gets these big ones, and then some of them just seem very. So I compared to Joe Rogan at the top. Joe Rogan kind of builds his brand at this point is like he always has. It's a very clear delineation. When it's Meathead McGillicuddy he is here to talk wrestling or whatever the MMA bullshit, and it's like, okay, it's one of those episodes. And then you get some Graham Hancock, some guy's going to talk to you about like alien theory or something cool. It's like, all right, it's one of those episodes. There's a real clear delineation with Joe Rogan. His whole demeanor is different. One critique of you, Joshua, if you're listening, in your slop delivery is very consistent, even when you're talking to a fucking retard. And so it's actually, to me, it creates this incongruous in terms of like the experience of the show, and then also probably in terms of virality. There's something weird going on. Like it's very spotty.
There's like a very unsettling vibe there. I'm sure like if you were to like corner him in a personal moment, he would be like more fluid and he would be like, an actual human being. But but there is something very like, even just that clip with Dasha, like, the one shot thesis. Yeah, the one shot. Like that was, like you could tell like I think maybe he's doing it consciously, but I hope I didn't cut you off, David.
No, that was it.
No, my theory of like the slop formula is that he is doing something that you were mentioning about Joe Rogan, but he's doing something for, let's call them like the higher midwits than like the midwits of Joe Rogan or the lowwits. He's doing something for like that sort of 115 IQ area where
it's NPR. It's
NPR.
It's what's the word? Libtard chud. Not chud. What's a better way to phrase this?
Well, no, NPR is Ezra because they're very aware of the camera. And we're representatives of the discourse. Everyone in the Senate will watch us discuss. The Ezra show is for the upper echelon. There's tiers. I would say the closest thing to Joe Rogan is the Nick Mullen show. I think because
probably.
Because
Mullen Adam Friedman or whatever.
Yeah, or Adam Friedman. Mullen had one of the Ben Shapiro's cattle Catholics that he keeps in stable recently. I forget who. It's the Italian dude.
Not Matt Walsh.
The other one.
Dan Bongino.
No, not Dan Bongino. The Daily Wire one. The other one.
He is an Italian?
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't know.
It's a clone. It's a Daily Wire clone. Who cares, right? But
who cares?
But Nick Mullen was just like, you're so obsessed with children's genitals, bro. That's kind of gay, bro, don't you think? Who cares? Only 2% of kids are getting genital mutilated, even in your own. Like he's just being a leftist kind of carny, throwing popcorn at the dumb Daily Wire chud. I would say Nick Mullen is closest thing to a Joe Rogan in terms of being humor and joking with the boys, but joking with the boys in a very lefty dirtbag kind of way. Well, Joshua is doing the more like what Gio said.
He excused that. He doesn't want to joke that way. Like the Taylor Lorenz interview, like really, like they're sort of eschewing that.
Should we just dig into it at this point?
To win.
Like, is it time to dig into Taylor?
No, wait. What I was going to say about the methodology of it is that I think he's appealing to a specific type of people that are like what you would call, I guess, for like a vulgar term would be like subnormie. Like they're aware of the internet, like they're aware of the online world, they're aware of like memeplexes, even though they don't invest a whole lot of time into it. But he's doing it in a way that, like you were saying, isn't like official NPR core, Obama core, and like Ezra Klein. But he's also not like Nick Mullen come town. He's like trying to do something that appeals to the sensibilities of millennials, that they may feel like, I'm still on the left, I know they're excessive, we need to rein in these rascals, but I don't want to like start saying like retard and F slurs or whatever. And so he's doing like, but what he does is that he gives you the appeal of intellectualism. Even though what he's talking about is like very surface, like his guests are talking about like very surface level hot takes on socio-political analysis. But he's doing it in such a way that appeals to their intellectual vanities without actually having to work at like reading the same things as his guests are reading, if that.
Or challenging them. That's another key aspect. Like Joe Rogan, to his credit, will actually challenge guests to some extent, even though he is infamously like agreeable. But I'm sorry, Gabe. Go ahead. I just want to get that in.
No, you're great. Like, for example, when Joe Rogan did the Cash Patel thing, like, he fucking sodomized Cash.
Well, that's because like Joe Rogan's actually more leftist than what people want to ascribe to him as.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, he would objectively, if Joshua really, he would get Joe Rogan on, actually. I think if he was actually really purely Machiavellian, and I think he would actually be quite successful if he got Joe Rogan on.
The game of Slop Kings, yeah.
Actually, I would say the audience for Joshua, I want to see if Gio agrees with this. Do you think his audience is like troll remorse, like white dudes, like midwits?
Yeah, yes, Gabe, yes, 100%. Go ahead.
It comes off like that. This is because let's do it like an anthropology of the troll remorse white guy. Like, he was 2016, I identify as a attack helicopter, right? That kind of thing. Like the Discord divisions.
I watched MD. Yeah.
I watched a Morocco, alt-right music video one time on YouTube. That's how I got radicalized in alt-right, that kind of thing. And I feel like when you have this coming to Jesus moment, like the iDubbbz effect, and like
Ian Jamha effect. Yeah,
I think his core audience is the iDubbbz thing. That's why he bothered even interviewing Dasha or the most right wing guest by far.
Right.
Objectively speaking, is like, listen, you made some edgy jokes. You did not, you once said very cruel things about trans people. You did not think chicks could have dicks. Right,
but I know you're a good person, though, right?
Yes, exactly.
When he says, "Right, you're a good person, right?"
Yes, you thought you're being cool and rebellious with all these edgy memes. And memeing is okay. We need the populist energy, guys. Memeing is okay. Liking memes is okay, but you need to harness the energy to being productive. That's why exactly. He's the theory cell outreach to like Oren talks about this with Dave Green and distributism. Right, he basically said, like, listen, you got the base revulsion against SJWism, but then you got the high thinkers about, it's not just about ethics and game journalism, it's about something deeper and core. Like Oren used to like be part of Gamergate and watch all these Gamergate commentators like Sargon and so forth, and the classical liberals, and Green back in the day would actually say, listen, it's something much far more deeper than that. In many ways, I think he's trying to position himself almost as a left-wing Dave Green, I would say, to a certain degree. He's reaching out like, listen, you have this base desires, former troll remorse white guy, but I'm going to try to show you a proper way to harness this online energy so we can get free healthcare like Sweden. Right?
Exactly.
It was like that calculus skips where they're talking about the European social healthcare. It's like, oh my God, this is still a talking point. It's like frozen in pure amber. It was just chef's kiss. So that's why I would say he is. He's trying to appeal to the chronically online, disaffected white dude who's kind of just, was formerly edgy, has regrets about it, and is trying to work on himself. That's the thing. This is their version of a self. I'm trying to work on myself show, kind of. I mean, I could very easily see iDubbbz appearing on Joshua's show. You cannot envision iDubbbz on Ezra Klein.
Yeah, but it's done in such a way that isn't like overtly therapy speak, like the way that you have with Ian Jamha, or like all these other dweebs like Anthony Fantano, or like other people that have like speed run into lolcowdom, like a lot of these irony leftists who like I'm edgy, I'm detached, I'm nihilistic, I don't believe in anything, but I believe, trans rights or human rights or whatever. So he does it in such a way that is very kind of like stoic and more like cerebral, or the appeal to being cerebral, than like iDubbbz crying to a therapist.
Right.
And you know what I mean? So he's doing it.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, but yeah, go ahead. Like they'll criticize. What were you going to say? Yeah.
No, just that like Catherine Liu and some of the other ones, they'll talk about people being these fragile eggs, people being liberal people being too sensitive to certain things, but at the same time they'll reify by the end of every episode like the underlying premise of the respective, all lifestyles, all this, all that,
and their own moral worth is as well. That's another
exactly. So they don't actually. It's almost like a don't like we need to move past this wokeness vibe I get from that, but without actually arguing against or disassociating from the actual wokery. And so it's like this weird half measure. I don't know what it's going to do. My thought was that he was trying to corral people with it within the left. Like I thought this was more of an inward left aimed thing.
You know who is analog is to this?
Yeah.
The Silicon Valley rationalist people like Hanania
or
and Cognis and
which
Ayla.
is another guest he had on
hell of an episode.
Yeah.
No, the smell is crazy. She had her legs up and spread for like half the episode. I was like, what the fuck?
No, but that's their analog, because of course they come from a different position where some of them would entertain like HBD or racialism or whatever, but they have long abandoned that. Whereas like I think like Yarvin, for better or for worse, is positioned in such a way as to be like the villain of the kayfabe heel. But these guys, they're sort of like doing this weird thing where they're appealing to these intellectual sensibilities, this like overt libertinism, and a sort of like Obama era level of, or even like Bush era leftism, where it's like you can be edgy and transgressive in a very limited way, but you're still going to like affirm the same like corrosive social order that has led to the destruction of whatever you want to call them, like right-wing principles or values or whatever. And I noticed, how I noticed this? When I noticed that he kept in multiple interviews harping against like the quote-unquote irrationalism of the quote-unquote mysticism and new ageism that the left adopted. And that we need this like cold, calculating, like rationalistic
Stalinist approach.
This like Enlightenment atheistic approach to the social order.
Yeah, that's his Fukuyama show, basically. That was basically the entirety of Fukuyama episode.
I wonder if Citarella, he's probably like maybe a few years older than me, so he probably was around during the new atheism thing on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And he
mentioned
probably,
the Bill Maher, Jon Stewart area. Like, he says with Ayla, like, I'm so worried about his appeal to like new ageism and his irrationality. Like, we come from the Enlightenment and rule of law. Yeah, and but you have these.
He unironically believes in the labor theory of value, though. So he's far more tanky than it would initially appear, and a lot of his guests also come from that background, the more intellectual guest, and then he brings on that's my theory. I think he's trying to push more of a tanky-ish frame of mind, and then he brings on the slop fiends. Yeah, but he can't be like the gray zone or like Matt Taibbi or whatever. Like he can't be like overtly pro-Russian either. Like he'll say about like how they censored Russia today as that's like kind of a bad move, but he can't be be an out and out like Max Blumenthal, like Russia shell. Like he can't do that. I don't think he has any Russia affection. He's probably more of like a Maoist or something at heart.
We will sadly never get the Dugin episode on Doomscroll.
No, he loves China though. Like the Catherine Liu episode, like they were both gushing over China being able to like punish their political enemies
and steal his money.
Yeah, because they want a dang. They want a practical dangism. That's what they want.
They want a left liberal global transnational progressive dangism. Thank you, Gabe. That's a good observation there.
Because that's what basically with Fukuyama. Because Fukuyama also talks like, we need a strong state like in China. Like China invented the first state before the Europeans could, and we need someone. This whole abundance thing. We need to cut the red tape, but still reverence we still need to preach in the name. It's like the Augustus first citizen. I believe in the republic, but I'm going to just do things. I believe in rule of law and democracy.
But I'm going to punish my political enemies, though.
I'll shove the judge into the factory. You will produce the HRT. We will dip you like super mutants into the HRT. Right?
But I think
the whole other line of thought is the democratic arguing that always comes up in it. They're always bringing up about right wings limiting democracy. All these changes need to maintain, like democracy is crumbling. We need to bring democracy, but then all the solutions are always these single one party type solutions, arrest Elon Musk on site and just take his money as too much. And so, which like very difficult to have that happen in a democracy. And so I it is one of those things like what are they even referring to when they
nobody really believes in democracy. Nobody cares.
I agree.
Not to say that democracy is a laudable ideal, but like it's very like I think you're saying like it's very funny how they're proposing this like return to sort of like a Habermasian communicative rationality, but within very limited confines that they have the right to solely police. Like they believe in sort of like a global communicative rationality, but one that is like Fukuyama was saying, very policed and hemmed in, and sort of like the clock stops at like the 1990s or the 1980s, and the political right. I think the way that they give up the game is because whenever they talk about the political right, they basically make the same mistake as their far left counterparts, even though they're pretending to be centrist, which is the right wing is sort of like goes back to Umberto Eco and Wilhelm Reich and Theodor Adorno, even though I do admire a lot of work by Theodor Adorno. But it goes back to like Umberto Eco's essay on fascism, that the right wing is essentially an emotional upsurge that is like this Topa-like monster that comes about every once in a while and has no causality, one day for no reason at all. The right wing just comes about, and it's like sort of these people are like hideous zombie monsters that like we don't know why they're like radicalizing people, but we do know that like maybe they're like dissatisfied with modern living or whatever, because in their minds the world has been ambered in like the weird mix of like FDR and meets the Obama era. It's like 2009 and 1929 forever in America. And so to their minds, like, and Fukuyama said this not with Joshua Citarella, but with his interview with Bill Kristol, where he said like, where Bill Kristol's like, is the world really that bad that people want to embrace, Bronze Age pervert or Curtis Yarvin or Nick Land? Like, is the world really that bad that we just want to like overturn the liberal world order whole cloth because we smashed all of our ideological enemies in the previous century? It's like, if you look around, yeah, for a lot of people it is that bad, or it's getting that bad, or their way of life has been so thoroughly disrespected that they don't really care anymore. But they don't realize that because to them, like, it's 2009 forever.
Yeah, but here's the thing with the Fukuyama part. Sorry to interrupt, but
go ahead, Gabe. Yeah,
but Fukuyama's just playing the hatchling in there, because in the end of history, in The Last Man, he talks about the resurrection of Thumos in the second part. So, like, dude, you literally discussed this about how derationalization will eventually cause his urge to this will to power, this willpower will rise again. The will to construct a real intimate sense of Thumos will rise again. So Fukuyama just completely forgets his own part of his own meme book.
Yeah, exactly. Because, well, I mean, a lot of it comes from Alexander Kojev, but like, he forgets it because I think that he realizes that the political right is so good at like engaging with that same thumotic principle that people have inherently, that the ancient Greeks discussed. And I think that the reason he's doing that is because even he'll admit this. I mean, Kojev was much more upfront with it as a theoretician, where it's like, when you get to a certain point in the end of history, you just don't really need to bother with that because people will just naturally transform. There was a great thread by, I don't think he would want me to mention his name, but let's say he's affiliated with the J'accuse Press. He had this thread once that came from a few years ago where he said that the problem with the current liberal order is that, like, kind of like communism, where they imagined a social transformation that is so total, but yet the transformation of a new communist or socialist man is left wanting. And so I think that the problem is that they've come up with this reality that, the plan for the sort of like direct model of subjectivity that the current left has is very alienating to a lot of people. And so people like Joshua Citarella, to give him credit though, to give people like Fukuyama credit, is that they are smart enough to know this. They're smart enough to know that you have to work with the tools that you're given. And a lot of this is come about by trying to sort of, like I said, re-engineer why the political right has been so effective in the internet age. Because the internet, if we remember, and this Kathy Liu person brings up the Californian ideology. The internet was originally promised to the sort of like leftist radicalism as fostering this new globalized world of communicative rationality and understanding, and from which we can subsume ourselves into this like total planetary politics, to go Condalist, right? But that didn't really work because they discovered that like the political right was very effective at using this in the absence of institutional legitimacy. And so I think their tactic is to, how can we wrestle? We know that we have, even though we're not going to say, we're going to pretend otherwise, but we pretty much have institutional legitimacy locked down. But how can we wrestle this alternative media legitimacy, for lack of a better term? How can we wrestle the legitimacy of the outsider once again? And so the way you do this to them is not by appealing to the very like id-driven excesses of like wokeness or whatever you want to call it, right? But to appeal to the sensibilities of otherwise quote unquote normal, mostly millennial, kind of skewing towards white or white presenting people within that sort of like North American media consciousness, the people that did grow up on Jon Stewart. And some of a lot of them, they were like, well, the radical shit is on the political right after Trump. And so how are we going to like rein people into realizing that these people are like evil, monstrous right-wing chuds without actually calling them specifically evil, monstrous right-wing chuds, because that tactic doesn't work anymore. And it's like, how are we going to do this? And so Joshua Citarella comes in as like this perfect gelling of different forces that felt disaffected by the 2010s. But, and we'll see when we talk about the Taylor Renz interview, this very like weird nostalgia for the 2010s where he said that, and I quote, "It was a great time for an opening up of culture and artists could do different things." It's before social media. It's like, no, the 2010s culture was a total dead zone. Like Jack Mason, Jack the Perfume Nationalist is 100% correct. The 2010s was a cultural dead zone. And to say that you're lauding this like weird millennial gray stomp clap hey hipsterism is like, to me, like it makes my skin crawl. But the reason he's doing that is to appeal to the sensibilities of people that were disaffected and what he perceives as being left behind by this post-enlightenment rationalistic global liberal order. And it's like a very conscious thing. It's a very mercenary like marketing tactic.
Oh, there's a whole thing too on the 2010s I want to cover in terms of censorship too, where they talk about, you know, they feel censored in certain ways, but especially post 2024 or so. Like they act as if they're censored. They actually consistently have the wrong opinion on censorship, in my opinion, and that they say, oh, you know, censorship doesn't work. They kind of repeat these platitudes back, whereas anyone that was actually involved in anything that was censored, you know, is actually extremely effective as a tool.
The old alt-righters,
to like they were the old alt-righters, like as a case study, they basically forcibly circulated the elites within the quote unquote alt-right to whatever it is now, dissident right, just by selectively censoring certain people until they couldn't engage on platforms.
Yes.
Those people also like tended to humiliate themselves, but a lot of their humiliation
there was a lot of that.
Yeah, there was a lot of. I'm just thinking of a certain guy that got a sick little twink stuck in my cock. Here's a video I'll send you. Shout out Christopher Cantwell, friend of the show.
Radical agenda. What's your agenda?
My agenda's getting my cock slapped around on a twink. I can't do a Cantwell impression, but
I got my cock slapped around.
Isn't
he in jail again or something?
No, he's out chasing twinks. He's funny enough. Actually, that's doxy. But
let's not talk about Christopher Cantwell.
Well, maybe Cantwell could go on Doomscroll. He would be a great outreach for trolling.
Unironically, yes, because he's that radical, libertarian. He's like that righty libertarian. I saw the Arabs' ways.
They could talk about Andrew Nagel's Kill All Normies. Which seems to be like a founding document for Joshua types. Like that. I never actually read that book. Actually, I wanted to ask Gio about this. Like,
it's a great book. I said it in my book. It's Angela Nagel. I'm not going to go. She's actually pretty decent. Like, she's pretty good. But like, I feel like she's been exiled by the political left multiple times. Like, for example, her and Sean McCarthy's particular brand of pro-Palestinian thing is kind of like odious to mainstream leftists because they verge too much into how shall I say it? You mentioned the alt-right 1.1. And there's a certain podcast network. that a lot of people on political left have accused Angela Nagle and Sean McCarthy of talking because they say certain 3-letter words, for example. And so I think like she's been like canceled by the left so many different times, 7 Ways to Sunday. But I think like they're definitely, like you were mentioning that book, Kill All Normies, it definitely is like prime real estate for someone like Angela Nagle, who is a bit more sympathetic to the Chuds. Like, even though her book, I think, my criticism of it would be that near the end of it, it devolved into like 2017 gossip, like what like Milo and Baked Alaska were doing. I think if she were to write that book nowadays, it would be much different. But for what it was at the time, it was truly groundbreaking. And I think that despite its limitations, I think like there is a moment of like people like Angela Nagle to sort of like come back. And certainly I think like people like her, or people like didn't he interview like that other Asian woman who was very popular but then like sort of went by the wayside? There's like a number of these people that were floating around the Bernie campaign that he's interviewed. And I think like they're in a position where, you know, the
Are you
sort
thinking
of like
of the black woman that was his speech writer or something?
Oh yeah, Brianna Greyjoy. He also interviewed her.
His
yeah,
only black guest, by the way. Like, talk about feeling the white adjacency.
Yeah,
His
people
only...
accuse her of being like a Russia shill and like a secret alt-writer or whatever. On the like the Antifa left like really hate her for some stupid reason. Like they accuse her of being like funded by Russia, or they accuse her of like being like sympathetic to the more like overtly anti-Israel, like in a bad way, quote unquote, anti-Israel.
The Candace Owens we have at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think like all of these people that have been canceled by woke-tards, but who themselves still hate the political right. Not to say that Angela Nagle hates the political right, but like maybe, I don't know, like she definitely like hates the more like overtly capitalistic Republican Party side of the Trump administration. But when it comes to other aspects of it, not so much. Whereas Brianna Greyjoy definitely still is a creature of the political left. I mean, this much is obvious, right?
Right.
But all those people that were superficially canceled by the sort of like limited, like you were saying, David, like the limited hangout intra-leftist conflict, those people will find a new voice with Joshua Citarella. And another thing too, what I forgot to mention is that it's clever and very insidious in the sense that they can posit themselves as being like the like one step away from the Barry Weiss centrist containment zone of like the left me, but they're still on the left. Like people were saying after that report came out with the dark money thing, that like, oh man, Taylor Renz, she's kind of based. Like, I don't know, man. She's kind of like, you know, she's kind of nuanced. It's like, no, Taylor Renz in this interview is like a psychopath. Like she like is just as much a dyed-in-the-wool. Like she wants
dig into it, King.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Same thing as also Emily Jahinsky as well is also a lot like that as well.
Yeah, like these people want to see like anyone to the right of Bernie, like basically in the salt mines, right? Like they, but the thing with Taylor Renz is that I will give it to her though. She did kind of like take an intra-left optics hit by publishing this thing about dark money, but yet at the same time, she's doing this weird thing where she's also policing the quote unquote dark woke thing. And that's why they hate her. That's why the irony leftists, they've abandoned her. People like that Mark Bar America guy or DKL Market, whoever, like all these losers, they hate her because I hate to say this, I hate to give the irony left any props, but I will give them props. They accurately have diagnosed a snake because to Taylor Lorenz, she's making a very normie-friendly argument where she's saying that, why do you guys want to say slurs? I thought we were against saying slurs. I thought we were against ableism. I thought we were against fat phobia or whatever.
Well, she'll find she will gladly shake hands with the Reagan caucus and Joe Barry on that front.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I don't want to compare it. I mean, an obvious comparison would be Andrea Dworkin and McKinnon aligning themselves with the moral majority against pornography. But I don't want to make that because Andrea Dworkin actually was a very genius. Not that I agree with everything she said, obviously. She was like a very genius and brilliant mind. And she did have like a lot of insightful things to say, even though I feel like the place it was coming from was very, was a product. I don't want to say like wholly like again. I don't want to like discredit Andrea Dworkin's intellectualism by saying it's wholly a product of her early, her trauma, but it is a part of it. But the reason I bring it up is because a lot of people were making that comparison with Taylor Lorenz. Taylor Lorenz is not an Andrea Dworkin.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Lorenz does not have the intellectual capacity of Andrea Dworkin. I'm sorry.
But
okay?
she's hotter, though. I was
just about to say, she was highly milkable in that episode in a way I haven't seen her look previously. So she got to glow up.
But it's sort of aligning with centrist powers to police the left. I think, now this is a crazy assertion, I think it ultimately works better for them on the political left in terms of going to the center and going at least a little bit to the conservative right to police their own. Because there's no real big fallout. There's never going to be really a true optics hit for Nick Mullen to say retard, make fun of Down syndrome people.
Yes, they realized that they purged too hard. You discussed this earlier.
Yes.
I mean, the whole weird thing of sex and women. I mean, that goes away to Proud Hound. I don't know how you're supposed to say it. Proud, pornography, where he says something.
Yeah, pornography. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book actually.
Whereas when it comes to like various snakes within the political right, like this whole the Politico thing recently, that does have serious like life ruination consequences for people that have their DMs leaked.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work in the same way for the political right, trying to be like, I'm going to police my own by going to the enemy and like getting them to cancel people that I disagree with in the right. It doesn't work that way.
I want to tie this into the right eventually, but we'll work our way into that. Y'all mentioned earlier about this wish fulfillment for like a new FDRism, like or Huey Long populism, like swinging dick. We're just
a blue Caesar,
right. But they also with this hipster socialism, they also want, what did Wyndham Lewis call it? Cafe Bolshevism or something along those lines, or bourgeois Bolshevism or something like that. This hipster kind of, we're the cool kids, man. They want a fourth internationale, basically.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Both at the same time. That's why they realized, much like Stalin did after Barbarossa, is like, fuck, we purged too much. We purged way too much. We purged way too hard. And there's actually two quotes I actually want to bring up. It's I'll cite a hadith from Nick Land himself. For the left, all perception means compromise, and thus spiritual failure. To be realistic is to fall from ideological grace. And you see this in the comments section, where you got the raw, unfiltered Fed posting audience of either Joshua or Ezra Klein. Like, how dare you have this fashion on? Oh, she said cultural Marxism. How could you say a Nazi dog whistle like that? And they don't understand that Ezra Klein and Joshua are trying to do. It's like, can you stop being retarded for 5 seconds? We're trying to.
Yeah, 100%. We're the adults in the room. Yeah.
Right.
I'm skeptical. Oh, no, please finish, Gabe.
No, and this idea of like, listen, we'll let you say retard as a treat. Left, like we'll let you say retard as a treat. That's the peak, because they know that the IDUP's crying for the third time. It comes up as weak and pathetic, and it just what the material you want, which is young white men from the middle class, whatever is barely left of them. You're running low on the aging millennials. We no longer have the Judaic talent on our side to keep things respectable. So we're trying to farm off of these control remorse kind of young men. And so he's like, listen, we can't do the IDubs crying in camera for the fourth time in a row. We have to listen, we'll give them a little treat. You could say retard from time to time. You could maybe even say, you like a girl's boobs. I would like to fuck you, that kind of thing.
Or you can say the certain Z word now.
Zigger?
No, the other one.
No, we're not going to say it. No, but that's like like Sean McCarthy, Angela Nagel type of like they can say it sort of deal.
Yeah. And I to quote another. This is a second quote. It's a little lengthy.
Campon has been saying it recently.
Oh God, yeah, Campon. Don't get me on what's it? His co-host. I forget his name. Logo, yes. They
had a falling out, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
no, I follow his Twitter too because because I'm doing research on Wyndham Lewis, and he's the only person on Twitter who actually talks about Wyndham Lewis extensively. But there's a second quote, which is, I know Dave, you'll recognize it just by the voice alone. This dichotomy between this establishment FDRism, we're the adults in the room, we're the swinging, every man a king, all our. Every man is a king kind of populism of Huey Long and FDR versus the hipster fourth international intellectual vanguard. We are the culture. We are dominating both the establishment and the cultural radical chic. They're craving both of these at the same time again after being denied of culture and not being denied institutions, let's be honest, but being like publicly denied of the institutions. Like,
well, yeah, and there's
exoterically.
a certain withering of the institutions too, from mismanagement largely,
Yeah,
but then also
100%.
from now like direct cuts and like assaults within by the Trump administration the last year or so. So like, it's got to be a very unsettling thing for this. They do a lot of criticizing of the PMC, professional managerial class, on the show. Like several guests just treat like a pinata and wall up this theoretical, hypothetical person that goes to was a DSA, Democratic Socialists of America meetings, doesn't really apply themselves, and is in fact probably the audience to some extent. And I'm skeptical of the lasting impact or the ability for this the Cinderella scheme, as you guys have laid it out really well, to stick. Because if you go down to the comments section, a lot of it's just, 12 beers deep on this episode. The same joke a million
it's the
times.
Same fucking
Irony,
low
leftist.
IQ cattle. Sorry.
The go. Well, no, that's exactly my point. This tier of like leftist managerialism is very they even talk about the Brahmin left on here. It's very Brahmin left coded, and the mass is like, it just seems like they literally, you can't have mass people like inculcate it in the same way chud rightness. I think you can. There's a certain daily life behavior pattern that these people have been in, and they're trying to break them of that, whether it be cancel culture or whatever. We're talking about like an online media diet, an online mode of being these people have embodied for the last decade, and they're trying to break them of that. But to break them of that, you have to actually shout out to what's his name, Fred Perlman, friend of the show, the guy I quote a lot in these Reproduction of Daily Life essay, which is like an anarcho-communist, really cool bit of writing where he talks about it, like it's like
Fred shooting pearls, Perman.
Another Z word, zinc, related to that one, which I have a whole side story about that, by the way. I'll tell you after the episode. But the leftist, I think the leftist, what do we even call the Cinderella audience? This post irony left,
retard as a treat left, retard as a treat leftist.
Yeah, I
post dirtbag.
They're in that behavior mode of the last 10 years still, and I don't think this format, I don't think will stick. So they've imitated, like you said, Gio, the form factor in some ways of the I was not say right wing, but I'll just stick to the Joe Rogan analogy, to Joe Roganism, this sort of model of internet fame. But they don't have the slopulist right, but they don't. But they lack the audience doesn't thirst for the audience isn't denied this content in other places the way Joe Rogan's was, that drove them to it, or that drove them to Yu-Gi-Oh, people like you, or people like alt-right 1.0, where you literally couldn't have this stuff, and these people were always in opposition, and on their own shows even they would largely be in opposition and having debates. And Gamergate was a boiling point between more classical liberal theory in an interesting framing, but like classical liberal theory and I don't know what you would call it, I guess the different theories of
social libertarianism.
Yeah, social libertarianism, or even like communist or fascist ideology. Things are more, I guess, about concrete applied power and the conceptualized power. And I would say like in sort of like a realpolitik way. Anyway, these ideas were clashing in that space, and in alt-right 1.0, and even in the current space, even as segregated as it is. Whereas in this one, it's so neat and tidy, and they're on their own, and they're talking about these debates in hypothetical. I don't know. I see a gap between the conversations and the audience's ability to actually integrate it in like a challenging way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is integration of like the real bloody concrete versus the theory is another major aspect of this. And there's another quote I think y'all will enjoy. And y'all can guess who this is from. But while I'm doing this, I want you to imagine two figures. I want to imagine Fukuyama and someone like Hassan. Keep these two figures in your mind when I do this quote. All right, so bear with me. The Englishman seeks to convince the enemy within of the weakness of his position. If he does not succeed, he calmly takes up his sword and revolver and forces him, without revolutionary melodrama. He cuts off his king's head because he instinctively considers this symbol, necessary. For him, it is a sermon without words. The Frenchman does it out of revenge, for the pleasure of bloody scenes, and with the witty titillation that he can just turn a king's head on it. For without human heads on spikes, aristocrats at the lantern, priests slaughtered by women, he would not be satisfied. He cares less about the outcome of the great days. The Englishman wants the end, the Frenchman the means. What do we want? We only get caricatures of both kinds. And of course, that's from the great OG top tugger Oswald Spengler. And I think that perfectly describes the Fukuyama establishmentarians who they want to get rid of the chuds, but do it like in a proper way, which is you cancel them, you call them
They
a racist.
don't do it for like a petty like Antifa black bloc, like I'm going to basically destroy you for the pleasure of it type of deal. Yeah. They're very managerial in their violence, yeah.
Yeah, like in the 1990s, you didn't need to have Antifa. You know, you could just burn children. You could have Bill Clinton send in a firing squad and burn children alive. You didn't,
Yeah, you'd send like fucking Janet Reno to go and kill children at Ruby Ridge. Yeah, it's like, yeah. Oh, sorry, for YouTube purposes, David Koresh lit the fire himself. So, that's a very good point, Gabe, but I wanted to ask you two a question. It came up in the Tiller Renz interview, and it came up also with Fukuyama. Do you think that their analysis, like the Cinderella consensus on a lot of like multiple things, multiple interviews, do you think it's more or less correct that if the political left were to have curbed, quote unquote, the excesses of 2010's wokeness, if it would have focused on economic issues, focused on Gibbs, focused on healthcare, focused on freedom of speech, focused on like mass appeal, like Jon Stewart-isms, do you think they would have won, and do you think that would have stymied Gamergate leading to Donald Trump? Or do you think that this is delusional because the far left was always going to control the reins and means of discourse, and like this sort of like, of course, like there's many analogs in history before the 2010s. Obviously, there's even analogs to the 19th century. That there was always this like revolutionary capacity that was always going to like corral the like centrist elements. Or do you think that if the political left, say if like Occupy Wall Street was more or less successful in reining in corporate excesses, and if Obama didn't bend the knee to global neoliberalism, do you think we would have been living in a much different world, and that maybe the political right would be like a cohort of like host-scaring Nazis and people that are like equally host-scaring libertarians, and that would be it?
I would say I fundamentally disagree that it could have stopped the Gamergate, because it's the same thing we left to say if only Lenin didn't nationalize all the unions. Like, I'll go full Burnham, I'll go full San Francis with this. It was the fact that the gaming industry, with all the tech culture in general, the managerial, the aged left, they just were not paying attention to it for the longest time, letting it grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
And they realized, oh fuck, this is not, it's not politically correct in the ancient version of the term, which is it's not up to file, not in the slop term, I mean in the technical term what was used back in the day. This is not. There is no praxis being done in this corner of society. So I think for purely managerial reasons, I mean, look, it was successful. We realized Gamergate lost. Like Baby Inc. is now officially corporatized. You had to have a black Afro chick mandate that 5 black Afro women be the main character in your fighting game, and you must make the white girl's tits small. Right? It's institutionalized. It was mostly a success. It was a Pyrrhic victory in many senses, because some refugees escaped and created their own new Zion of chuddiness in the internet. It was not. From their POV, they didn't act soon enough. They should have done this during the 90s. Yeah, actually.
But you could see. But my point being is that to you guys, that you could see how it's a powerful argument to like very normative type of people.
Yeah, it was an alt history argument of could have, would have, should have.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
I don't know. I think they wouldn't be able to contain themselves too if they had that level of success early on. I think it's inevitable part of the leftist ideology. They just would have to keep pushing until there was pushback. So probably would just be living in a shittier world if they had been smarter earlier and implemented some of these ideas. And then also there's just the physical reality of the world, that a lot of these ideas, nothing that drives me crazy about it is they just don't talk about realistic limits of the economy, right? Because again, I mean, himself and the guest apply labor theory of value, which, under that idea, you almost have like infinite prosperity as long as you have people that are working.
Right.
And then you can add in machinery and stuff. I don't think it's a very credible way to conceive of the world.
Another thing too is that I think globalization really destroyed a lot of their pretense to a sort of like middle of the road socialism and also middle of the road sustainability in terms of just the economy and culture in general. Because when you have like the massive like mixing of peoples, inevitably this sort of like alienation that comes about from people being like this global transient vagabond citizenry will inevitably destroy any sort of like end of history project, because the end of history, I think even Fukuyama realizes this.
Yeah, he acknowledges this in the end of the last May. He talks about this and he acts upon it. It's so retarded.
He doesn't realize that he's appealing to like largely European people, and that other people aren't going to be willing to destroy their own culture to buy into the global system. That's not going to happen. They can pretend, and of course, like on the left, they've tried to like work this with post-colonial theory and the sort of like global South people that are still like of the radical left, or of like, people within the coalition of like, we're going to prop up the global South, blah, blah, blah. But what these people are doing is that they're realizing like, oh shit, these global, like the sort of like the globalization of leftist radical politics is also going to eat us alive. And they're like, oh, what are we going to do about this? Because we can't like really put the genie back in the bottle. And so how, like you guys were saying, like appealing to like Tror Morris, like largely white guys or women, like the Jamie Lynn Peck, Chapo Chapos type of women. It's like, they're going to be eaten alive by the manifestation of a lot of like politics after the fall of the Soviet Union, for example, that, when the like, real crystallization of these like global, socialistic, post-colonial cultural movements on the political left, they have no place. Like people like Joshua Citarella do not have any place in that coalition. And so either you become this like weirdo tanky, like China #1, or you're like, what are we going to do? We're going to like bring back the 1990s consensus where globalization was actually fun and hip and cool and interesting. But he can't do that either, because he hates the New Age movement. And what happened during the 1990s? The revival of the New Age movement that was commingled with this like post-colonial global South politics.
Yeah, and so much of the 90s was just, I mean, they were just reaping all the benefits of expanding global capital into like China and other countries. So like the whole, that's another thing. And this is a whole other side tangent, but I was ranting online about today about, EROI, like energy return on investment. And one of my issues with this labor theory of value is that you ignore, where every time there's like a bounty within like an empire or within something, it's always coming from, we just strip mined somewhere. And so globalization, its whole power comes from strip mining faraway places, or, back then it was China. And a lot of what we've experienced in my idea with the explain those ideas is we've kind of run out of places to strip mine the last decade or so, since 2008, and so it should bring some humility on these like commitments to these sort of communist ideas, if you have that. But again, they're going back to these 19th and early 20th century ideology. And exactly your point, Gio, I think that's a white dude thing. You're gonna be a weird white dude that they're gonna be hanging out with
Luminatalists.
Exactly. And I don't see a future in it. And then also with it being less of a white future in America, they're just going to also be relegated.
Remember that?
Oh, there's the Gamergate keto.
They're frozen in that period much more than we are, because soy is exclusively used. Oh, you're soy ragey right now. Left the soy right. Have you
The
been
soy
seeing that?
right, yeah, the
Yeah.
soy right, yeah.
They're so traumatized at that period because it was the first time their dog bit back.
Yeah.
They're so traumatized by it, and Joshua knows this. He said, I think it was with either Andrew Callahan or Taylor Lorenz. He's like, "Oh, Gamergate really was the Archduke Ferdinand of today," and he genuinely believes, and he meant it too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a friend of a friend, a Scotsman. The Scotsman, in the same way the former MP of Scotland was a Scotsman, was also a Wyndham Lewis scholar. Actually, I read some of his pieces, and they're actually not even that bad on Lewis. But he compared Gamergate to the Dreyfus affair as well, to make a historical comparison. And I think
I'm sure some of them were gay.
Very true.
Well,
Right.
Milo, there you go.
Right, but I think what they're trying to do, and with Joshua in particular, he's competent, and what they realize, I mean, they got the wrong Marxist. Like what they needed, if they wanted to do competency, it should be Dangism, and if they wanted pure socialism, the way to do that is, I'm sorry, socialism in one country. They should have went full Nazbol. That's the only way to do it. Globalism was a Trojan horse.
Yeah, like Stalin, he wrestled power away from a lot of ethnic minorities in Russia to give it back to the white Russians.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Stalin was truly a monster of history, but, like, that goes without saying. But I think, like, the nationalistic turn, and, like, I mean, let's face it, like, I think it was Peter Nemitz, or it was somebody that had this point where, like, a lot of these post-colonial movements were, like, unironically, like, nationalistically socialist, not in, like, the Nazi sense, but, like, in the sense that they were nationalists, but they also were socialists. And so I think, like, that's a very powerful memeplex to an increasingly diverse group of Zoomers in North America. That's, like, you have this, like, source of meaning you can go to, whereas people like Joshua Citarella and Taylor Lorenz, and a lot of the irony leftists, they don't have that. They don't have this, like, repository of leftist radicalism and meaning that a lot of, like, BIPOCs or people that are, like, children of immigrants do. And especially after October 7th, that goes without saying, because now it's like they're in a very uncomfortable position. Like, even Taylor Lorenz, I was actually shocked that she admitted, like, the level of, like, for example, Israeli influence in media. Whereas, like, I think, like, in 5 years ago, even, that would be, like, a terribly cancelable anti-Semitic polemic. But they're having to embrace, I think, I mean, just because of, like, the sheer horror of what has gone on for the past 2 years in that region of the world. But also, I think they realize that, like, all of the sort of leftist radicalism that we're cultivating is not for, like, us. It's for other people. And I think, like, there's almost like a unconscious immune response there, where they're like, well, what are we going to do when the revolution happens? We're also going to get liquidated. And they're like, okay, so we're going to have to, like, preserve a part of Western civilization, but a part of Western civilization that we say is worthy, or the real tradition, which is just, like,
institutions.
Exactly.
Rule of law.
Rule of law, and, like, anti-mysticism and anti-religiosity, and so therefore they could also dick over. Notice how that sly shift of targeting the New Age movement and mysticism, because they can also dick over all of those post-colonial people that view their indigenous religions and traditions and mysticism as a source of identity.
Well,
notice how they're doing this.
Are they just, like, on a 10-year road to being liberalists? Like, is that kind
Yes!
of the road we're going on?
Yeah, they're, like,
roundabout.
Yeah, it's a roundabout way. Oh, sorry, Gabe. What were you going to say? Yeah.
No, it's a roundabout way back, because, you notice, intrinsically, like, Joshua is anti-New Age and anti, like, all these things, but he'll gladly reach around the aisle. Like, his latest episode just yesterday was with Dr. Michael Israetel, Ceto, testosterone, and capitalism.
That was running up the wall, bro. He just got exposed for being like a false degree or something.
Yeah,
I didn't watch it.
His whole PhD thesis where strong people were strong. Literally that.
Wow. I mean,
It was like a diploma mill type of thing. Yeah.
Oh, but Gio, did you watch the part where Josh was like, "Yeah, I tried like sun tanning my balls.
Yeah,
That was Kino.
that was great. Yeah, that was Kino.
Yeah, but he said this. He says this. Well, he's like, well, the only he even did the raw egg nationalist thing where you eat 10 eggs a day for to increase your testosterone. But he says the reasoning why is I want to get into their head. I want to see how this affects people's mentality.
Mhm.
And when talking with Kyle, I think he's like, that's the way we do it. I don't care, or Andrew, one of the two. He says, I don't care if you believe like they're in weather machines or the cloud is a demon or whatever the hell. I can get you on the labor. I can get you with free healthcare. That's how we win with free healthcare. And we bribe them with Gibbs, and then we can do our social revolution. We can backdoor it. The Fabian way, the Fabian school.
Tony Blair way of doing it. Yeah.
Go back to Blair, back to Fresh Prince, if you will. That's basically what he advocates for. So he would gladly. What Joshua is also doing, his audience is troll remorse, but also it is I just said his name, the Daily Bee, not the Daily Bee.
Joel?
Joel Berry, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dingleberry.
I could easily see Joel Berry going on that show. Absolutely. I could see that.
Oh, that'd be a cool ass episode, though. But
He's going to talk about Martin on the Joshua Citarella.
He's not even American. He's Canadian. I mean, who writes this stuff?
And you notice this idea of like reacting. Like the left are organized, but they're just clueless and they don't see it. They're organized, but they're in a mist. While the right has an open road, but we can't stop ankle biting. Because if you notice in history, let's do the Spanish Civil War, a Chud favorite, right? When that all kicked off, and also the American Civil War. One of the major kickoff points of putting the oil on the fire was, John Brown assassinating random white people and one random black dude, and all the left saying, yes, this is good, this is great, and the South being like, you're fucking crazy. And the same thing with the Spanish Civil War. I forget the name of the dignitary, but what was a major cause of the Civil War was the left also assassinating a right-wing Spanish politician, and that also kicked off the Spanish Civil War.
That's when they decided that it doesn't matter if you're a Carlist, monarchist, or if you're like a fascist. It's like we're all on the right, and these people hate us, and they want to kill us, and they want to rape our nuns and kill the priests, and so it doesn't like that was sort of like a crystallization moment on the Spanish Civil War. And
Franco managed to Tard wrangle all of these people into a unified unit, and now and we'll go back to the Slop god himself, Charlie Kirk. This happens, and we don't organize. We don't organize the way the South did. We don't organize the way Robert Lee even said something along those like part of the reason why he stayed true to the South was because of the outright just gushing, like even Emerson was gushing over like John Brown wears a crown of thorns just like Jesus Christ or something along those. That's almost that basically is an Emerson quote line for line, and you see this with the Kirk thing. The Kirk thing happens, and there's a complete vacuum. And instead of coalescing and conjoining, even Matt Walsh, who was like, I don't care about your skin color, America is for everyone. This was about 10 years ago. Suddenly it's like no enemies to the right? Basic realpolitik. And Joe Barry and normie conservatives and the political thing, they shoot one of us and we're bitching about DMs.
Yeah.
And in many ways, we don't have a doom scroll. We don't. We're a physical space. We have online space, but at least with them, they can get a room. They can pay for your flight, or physically sit down, table, talk. The face-to-face element is there. While even with the quote-unquote vibe shift, we don't even have a right-wing bookstore. That was a topic for a while. We don't even have any physical space.
You know who invented that idea? Digital Archipelago.
Yes.
Patented.
Yeah.
We are still waiting for DA Live.
We can I mean, I'm not no shade to Dudley New Right, but like, we kind of were it was a meme we had. Like, let's have like a right wing bookstore in New York City, like in Dime Square, where it's like you can read Spangler while you eat like they got massa chips in the front. And they can buy tallow.
Don't forget Hestias.
You can smoke Hestias. Yeah. No, but I feel like a lot of these people, maybe because they are like I also am this fellow Soylenial. I feel like their idea, like Joshua Citarella and Taylor Lorenz, like their idea of paradise is like Canada circa 2005, like where it's like where you were like on the left, but you have free healthcare, and we just legalized gay marriage, and we're better. And I mean, having
They
lived
just want to
through
be a background of a Michael Moore video of the movie,
exactly.
basically.
But that's
Yeah.
also the stance of normie cons. Joe
You know
Bear
what's
would also
funny?
be fine with Canada 2005.
You know what's funny is that Michael Moore actually filmed Bowling for Columbine relatively near my grandmother's house. Niagara Falls.
That's wild.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
crazy.
You know what? Actually, was Charlie Kirk's show? I mean, was that the Chud version of it? I never watched it, actually.
It was close to.
Was
I
that
watched.
Doomscroll-esque?
Kind of close.
Because he started doing Chuddy interviews. He interviewed Steve Saylor. He interviewed Moldbug. Like he was starting to privately. He was a Chud. He was starting.
He
to
interviewed
incorporate-
Lomas.
He interviewed Lomas. I remember. Yeah, they brought in Always for Honor. I think that was one of the books that Lomas brought. Yeah, I remember that. Like he was starting to incorporate the Vanguard into. Listen, we got the populist movement. Now we need to install the Vanguard. We need to put the Vanguard in charge, right? And then right when he's doing it, he gets popped, and now the Vanguard is absolutely scattered. And we've got the ankle biters again. We have a clear road ahead of us. Opposite of the left. Clear road ahead of us, completely disorganized. The left, completely, pseudo-organized, far more organized than us. There's the phrase, they're not going to be jailed and get hit by feds if they organize. But the way is foggy for them. Right?
Yeah.
They don't know where to go.
All the people that were doxxed by right-wingers, I don't think even a significant percent of them are gonna lose their jobs or anything. Let's be real.
Yeah, they got put on a 1 week probation or something.
Yeah,
and
like
then
that
they're back.
professor in U of T here in Canada.
Yeah,
I think she's back to work now. So it
Yeah,
doesn't
or
matter.
the Taylor Lorenz thing, the right is in control of all social media, and at that age, like milk with the whole Kimmel thing.
Yeah.
Literally, Trump has no power over the culture. Yeah, he has a fiefdom in the digital culture, but in institutional culture, with professional cameras, as if there's a professional camera involved, if it involves the airwaves,
yeah,
it's still
Chuds are helpless.
It's coated with garlic.
But then again, I think that's because frogs on Twitter, they feel like they have more importance in terms of cultural, not just cultural relevance is a sticky thing, but in terms of actual public policy power or the will to enforce culture. I think a criticism of the E-right is that there is the sense of self-importance that because officials in the Trump administration, they secretly read our tweets or whatever.
I think that's a lot of that's cope, to be honest. I think a lot of that is things they put out. They make you feel red on the platform you're on. It's a circular self-sucking trap.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people fall into.
Well, the DHS Twitter account does steal our gems and repost them.
Yeah, on the platform it's on. Again, they're not printing these on flyers and dropping it out of a plane onto New York City, saying, adios amigos, deportations and stay
vote
on.
Silla for remigration now.
Yeah. So
I'm sure
you have to be
Night
careful.
Owls is going on right now. I'm sure they're gonna they're the pro Silla podcast.
Well, actually, I'm speaking of the New York.
Silla's
thing.
great. He's pure old school New Yorkian.
Yeah.
He's got that vibe. As an Italian, I can jive with it.
Racial solidarity. I completely agree. But what do you think of how does the Cinderella tie into the Mamdani effect? Because the closest thing that got to Huey Long is a third generation, a white coated.
the can't bench press bar. Yeah.
Oh god, that was great. But so, how do you think there's any connection between what Doomscroll's trying to do and the Mamdani effect, or the attempted Mamdani meme?
I think that they would probably view it as trying to stay away from the radicalism that Mamdani at least gives a nod to, but at the same time they are implicit, because I'd imagine the vast majority of people that he interviews from New York are going to vote for Mamdani, because all the other candidates are either unthinkable or who have cringed themselves. And I think that Mamdani is he definitely has captured the sort of post Bernie millennial left, but at the same time can Mamdani translate to other power centers, cities in America?
He's very New York DSA. He's a real local phenomenon. So I don't see him as connected beyond the broad ideological tenets. I don't see any other connection.
So Mamdani Brett is not going to work. Are you saying this? I'm hearing this for the first time.
It won't work for Sioux City. It won't work for Lincoln, Nebraska. It's not going to work for It'll work in Minnesota though.
Yeah.
Because of what fucking Tim Waltz has been doing. But it won't work for, I think, like the smaller, more heartland regional cities that have huge leftist populations, but yet have to retain some semblance of like hick lib aesthetics. Like, did you see that one guy recently who had the fucking Toppenkopf tattoo?
Yeah. He covered up with a Celtic, like, not cross, like a dragon or something.
Yeah, or the Black Sun. That got the Hicklibwaffen. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hicklibwaffen. Like, no, but that's a great example because a guy that was like formerly transgressive who has this like troll remorse who's like, you know, I was in the military and I'm going to arm Antifa and I was training Antifa. It's like those people, they have this like weird nihilistic transgression for its own sake type of impulse. Like I think it was Memetic Sisyphus had this thread where he knew a guy in school that was like this, where he would like say the most outrageous right-wing things about like women and minorities, but then, you know, check in a few years later and he's like a die-in-the-wool irony leftist.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these people, you gotta realize, okay, the irony left. A lot of these people are terrified of the something awful forums getting leaked from back in the day, because they probably said a lot of slurs and they probably said a lot of things. And I think like there's this weird thing where the irony leftist millennial and like the slopulist right Trump planikin, like they both have the same origin. They're both like terminally middle class. They both have the same cultural references. And it's just like a little shift in the programming that can either land you into like Chapo Trap House DSA cell, or like I'm a planikin, you know, we're going to fucking kill you, put you in the crystals Trumpism. It's like they both have the same. It's so crazy. Is that like online as a millennial, I see this every day where they both have the same socialization and the same class structure, and they often will. And the Taylor Lorenz, she said this, like a lot of them are like these white guy middle class people that like they hate minorities and they, you know, so that's why they gravitate towards socialism, because they like have the same disdain for like disabled people and poor people that the right wing chud does, although they can't be the right wing chud. It's like Taylor Lorenz is sort of like doing a woke, more correct sort of take there, because you do notice this with a lot of these irony leftists that they have the same upbringing as any like fucking MAGA poster. And it's a very weird phenomenon. And I think Joshua Citarella is this like wedge where he's trying to like rein them in again. And he's like, you know, you shouldn't be ashamed of like being this like middle class white kid that listened to Limp Bizkit and watched The Daily Show.
Well, actually, you know what Cinderella is implicitly, and what it gives a permission to subliminally say it's okay to be white. That's,
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah,
no,
I see that.
I wouldn't go that far.
No. Well, basically saying like we'll tone down the hate, or like it's appealing to that without saying it, without constantly saying it.
He's toned down the anti-white rhetoric. Like he doesn't signal boost that at all, but he also doesn't counter signal it significantly.
Yeah, exactly.
They
But
talk about
yeah.
not being sensitive, and so that was what I mentioned earlier about him not challenging foundational aspects, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's going to be limited.
It's implicit
It's a very
permission.
fine needle he's trying to.
I mean,
Yeah.
but that's basically what it's implicit permission to be white. It's occasionally say retard for another time. It's like the mirror version of the Hicklib Boomerwaffen. The Hicklibwaffen dude is JD Vance. I mean, same thing.
Yeah.
He used to cross dress for a joke. He was dressed up as a communist for Halloween one time. It's not one for one, but it's almost.
They're
one for
both
one.
ex-military of varying degrees.
Yeah,
Like they both went to GWAT as like older millennial statesmen. Yeah, you're right. Like that what's his name even? His last name starts with a W.
This is the Hicklib.
The Hicklib, yeah.
Yeah,
with the top and
I
cuff.
only know shirtless.
Actually, no,
pictures of him.
isn't his name Pitt? No, it starts with a P. It's Pitzler. Or
Oh,
something like that.
Pittman. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they're trying to clone JD. We can't get a Joe Rogan, but we can get a clone JD Vance.
I do want to take us in for a landing here and do our vote. Before we do our tally, though, I mean, top Doomscroll Kino. Like, what's the must watch? For anyone that listens to this maybe has seen like one thing, and or Kolno or
That's
Cole,
a hard-
yes.
Well,
man.
other than the
What's
one
a
with
hit?
Mommy Dasha, other than the Mommy Dasha Kino.
That was unwatchable. I can't watch anything with Dasha in it.
Coward.
Yeah.
Fukuyama was enlightening from a pure like political anthropology point.
Yeah, like where are they now?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Catherine Liu interview, I think, was fundamental to understanding where these people are trying to go.
That was actually okay. I had two choices. Yeah, Catherine Liu, I think is like a very good representative. Or who's that young Indian fella? Vivek Chibber, another Vivek. The two of them were like a cool classic communist theory cell, and then trying to apply to a more modern setting. So that was kind of interesting. But then my other one would just be like, in terms of just rage porn, Taylor Lorenz, because she's like having a female manic episode about masks and how her hair is
people
poisoned.
Trolling her.
People trolling my mask, and this virus is, everyone has a right to breathe clean air. And like trying to rationalize her female insanity. But then minutes later, co-signing the killing of the guy Luigi killed, and then also I think Charlie Kirk. I think that had happened before that one.
And Joshua brought up the Charlie Kirk thing, and she was they're very coy. That's when he became aware of the camera.
He interviewed. I was thinking of Amber Lee Frost, who used to be like the Queen of Occupy.
Yeah,
he
that's a good
Matt Healy.
One. Yeah.
Matt Healy got canceled for being like a friend of Red Scare, and also being like, didn't he like admit to like watching face fucking or something? Like,
being a straight white guy, basically, for daring to be straight, actually.
He interviewed fucking. Okay, I have a bone to pick. He interviewed JJ McClellan,
friend of the DA, fellow Canadian,
centrist, fucking Canadian. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The guy can't stop producing cold take. He's like universally wrong about everything.
Yeah.
Even though like he means well, like I can't like really hate him totally, but something about JJ McClellan is just like he's a very, very weird. Like he's like, because Canada, for those who don't know, for the Americans listening, Canada's the only place where you can have like dirtbag centrism in the world. And so JJ McClellan is like, he'll say something that throws you off. It's like, yeah, I can kind of agree with that. But then he'll start saying something else about Canadian politics. Like, I feel like JJ McClellan, like, it's sort of like, how like we were saying, like these people want Obama forever. I feel like JJ McClellan's like, let's have like Jean Chrétien forever. And like that's the politics.
Well, yeah. The JJ McClellan thing is it's the trolling for the troll remorse, right? It's safe, edgy. JJ McClellan's like, after 9/11, I voted for conservative. I was a conservative. I voted for conservatism twice. I used to be right wing. Like that's his origin story, if I recall correctly, right? Wasn't he like a pseudo talking right wing talking head at one point? Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing of letting J-Reg on, and like, hey, J-Reg, look, he's funny. He can crack jokes. We have a funny bone. And he had J-Reg on.
Oh, Faraday Speaks. So he used to be a CIA plant. How did that turn out? Or FBI plant. I'm sorry, Faraday.
Faraday Speaks likes me for some reason. So I can't be totally mean to him, though. I mean, I think he cited me recently.
Faraday on Content Minded when?
You know what's crazy is that he's actually... I don't know. I probably wouldn't though, because the thing, I can't. I mean, I have no hate against the guy. I know he tussled with Dave Green pretty hard. I have this thing where if someone follows me or says something nice about me, I'm immediately like deferential towards them. So like,
the mutual effect.
Yeah, I can't hate Faraday Speaks too much, but he interviewed Matt Healy. Yeah, so he also interviewed, I mean, of course, like, Daniel Keller is a good guy. He interviewed, what's another weird ball one? The Mike Isertal one, I haven't watched it. I should watch it, because I think Mike Isertal is, like, speed running into, like, lolcowdom. He interviewed, that Peter James Fowler one was absolutely terrible. Bryce, whatever his name is.
Oh, the Mike Isertal one, actually, since you haven't seen it, in the first 2 minutes, he like contradicts all known data on sex trends, where he's like, oh yeah, testosterone's going down, but I think just because men are like ejaculating more, that lowers your testosterone.
Mike Isertal,
people are getting
like,
more.
Having watched a lot of Renaissance periodization, he has this very like weirdo, self-deprecating sexual humor. That's like, what's
also 5'1", red flag.
You know what's a coal mine that you should I recommend to people. Mike Yzertal has a personal channel that's not Renaissance periodization, where he like talks about like he's like a weirdo like libertarian meets like new atheism thing.
Yeah,
and
he has Ayn
it's
Rand tattoos on his shoulders.
Yeah, he's like a 1-ton coal mine. Like he's like one of those like huge coal trucks that's like world's biggest coal. He's like that. Like go to his personal channel. He's like, well, I know that the data has suggested that there is no God, but also there is a free market. And
No, that's not a coal mine. That's a conveyor belt. The coal's brought to you.
Yeah, he's like the coal chute. Yeah, like his personal videos are wild though. Like he like really locks into like the sexual humor. It's like a very weird. Like, well, actually, soy is good for you. But I don't want to say anything that's gonna get me canceled. But it's kind of like maybe women are women and men are men. But like, I don't want to say
horny,
so.
Safe horny. Like,
yeah.
Do you remember that?
He's very safe horny. Yeah.
Do you remember that Tumblr artist that was on Twitter where he made? I just really like girls, tall girls, small girls, muscle mummies.
What's his fucking cat something?
Yeah, the cat boy. Like, I just really like girlism. The only acceptable straight males allowed.
You should watch when Mike Yzertal interviews Lean Beef Patty.
Oh god! Oh,
it's like
god.
It's the most awkward. You could tell like Lean Beef Patty's like she's like a femme autist. And so that's why she's into bodybuilding. And she's like, she's very like thorough in her approach and her workout.
But anyone that does, do people know who Lean Beef Patty is? I unfortunately do.
Oh yeah, everyone
is
knows
she huge?
Everyone knows Lean Beef Patty.
I never know how big these people are.
There's plenty of Gooner accounts dedicated to Lean Beef Patty on TikTok. What do you mean? There is a right-wing Lean Beef Patty, actually. She used to go by Kansas Bill on TikTok. I forgot to put her on the equal rankings. You remember Kansas Bill?
Right-wing Lean Beef Patty. Oh, what are the politics of Lean Beef Patty as an aside? Is she like a irony leftist or like what is she?
She's a woman. I
wonder if she's like, I don't know, like it's very weird, but like her thing with Mike Yzertal where they're like doing workout videos, he's like forcing this like weirdo safe horny humor, and you could tell she's like, yeah, I'm not into this. It's kind of weird.
The ick is going off right now.
Yeah, the ick is going off.
A man under 5'5" is trying to rizz me up. Help! I'm being raped.
Mike Yzertal. I read watched one of his videos. Earlier, I didn't know who he was about creatine or something. And the top comment was someone saying like, I don't know a million one, but I can't stop imagining he was this giant baby because he was wearing like this big hoodie, like a white hoodie, a fluffy hoodie. And you know how he sits with his like plump shoulders up,
like Barney when he took an advertising job. He's like,
yeah.
No, baby, come back! And then, like his fucking bit falls. He's got, like Mike Yzertal's got to be some kind of freak though. Like in the bedroom, he's got to be some kind of like. He loves it, man. He loves it. Yeah.
Oh, he shits in his pants and asks her for a baby wipe, kind of thing. Or, like he eats like a bunch of broccoli and then like eats like a pound of pineapple, and they just do a complete scat play afterwards.
Gabe, you went way too far into that. Man. Even far from Gio was saying you're going too far in the sexual humor.
No, listen, dudes. When you're 5'1", you gotta get into some pretty kinky things in order to survive.
I was thinking like he probably likes to get tied up and whipped.
A skin mark, yeah,
yeah, skin mark.
Gabe, what's yours? Me and Gio gave ours. Did you give yours?
I take a more Dantean view.
Don't say Dash. Say a real one.
Yeah, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Other than for the gem mine that is Dasha. Beside the gem mine, well, the thing is, you got the trolling for the troll remorse, which is Anthony Fantano. It's like a safe edgy J-Reg, JJ McCullough. I think he knows how to diversify his audience. You got the Theory Cell stuff with the Fukuyama one, and notice the Dasha one is the most viewed one. It's 100-something K. It's probably his most viewed one. So I think for the Slop one, Andrew Callahan, I'd say actually, because he's like safe, edgy. I interviewed porn stars while they're middle fucking. Like, oh look how edgy I am. It's 2006 all over again. Girls Gone Wild kind of thing. And I say retard. And so for the Slop Fiend, the Slop episodes are obviously the 11-year-old. I was an 11-year-old chud, that kind of thing. Andrew Callahan for the more safe, edgy. We're just normal dudes. We could take a joke, but we respect trans rights. Fantano, obviously Hassan. I'm sorry,
Will
Hassan.
Menaker.
Will Menaker. Of course, Tim Heidecker as well. Don't forget Heidecker.
Heidecker was, you want to talk about 2006 politics, like preserved in amber. That one was brutal to listen to.
What is what's the guy's name? Callahan. What is his theory of radicalization?
Oh, basically, he's basically like, listen, y'all were too woke. Y'all, leftists are cringe, bro. Like, y'all's vibes are off, man. Like, y'all can't even let me say retard. Y'all just got too lost in the sauce, man. Basically, that's his whole point, radicalization.
Yeah.
And like, deplatforming doesn't work because they just go into their own silos, bro. That's
that was the one that was driving me nuts because he was like, dude, you have no fucking idea what you're talking about. And he was like, oh, we're censored now. It's like, well, you're censored. And he says it's like, because you covered a right-wing anti-vaccination rally during COVID. You're censored because you were talking to people who were actually censored.
The survivorship bias is insane. It's like, listen, when I got canceled, the right doesn't get canceled. They have a whole right-wing I got canceled industry, like that industry, or I would describe more as insurance. Like we only after
definitely there has
hundreds
been a lot
of bodies.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie though, to play devil's advocate, there definitely is like a whole like slop cottage industry of like the left me type of like I was canceled type of deal on the right, but that's nowhere near like saying I was canceled because like Zoomer MB kids on Blue Sky said that I was evil. It's not like, my whole life and career was absolutely destroyed because I rubbed shoulders with fucking, I don't know, Steve Saylor or Jared Taylor or whatever. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like there's a different level of like, what they mean by canceled is like, the hip new kids don't like me anymore.
It's stolen valor. And a lot of it actually, this podcast is stolen valor because they get their edginess, they get the meme templates, and Andrew Callahan gets his ban or whatever from right-wing shit. Like they're rubbing elbows with it, but then they're not actually adopting it. They're actually like presenting it on the show. And so that also...
They're feeding off the energy. That's the whole point of containment. They're feeding off the energy of it.
Would Joshua ever interview like an actual right winger that has like a huge profile, like say Sam Hyde or Nick Fuentes or
Sam? See, if he was actually, because I watched, he gave a speech on online identities. It was actually generally not. I thought it was actually not that bad. Actually, it's very like political compass balls, like that kind of thing. If he was actually sincere of being a researcher into like online identities, you have to do Hyde. You have to at least write about Sam Hyde.
Yeah,
that's an obvious, like he's one of the most pinnacular archetypes of the online identity, like of a human being being totally dissolved. Like there's this in Elder Scrolls, this concept of called Kim or Chim. It's spelled Chim, but it's Kim, and it's basically in Elder Scrolls it's kind of a Gnostic belief where the universe isn't real. You're in a dream of another being. And if you realize you're a dream, you actually get zeroed out of existence. And the only way to not get zeroed out of existence, it's to apply John Keats' theory of positive negativity. I forget what John Keats' theory of something negativity, where you acknowledge the contradictions. You have two contradictory thoughts in your head. I do not exist. I'm merely a dream, but also I am that I am. And with Hyde, he managed to not get dissolved entirely into the meme identity of Sam Hyde, by embracing the contradictory fact of Sam Hyde's merely a meme at this point. The man is dead for all intents and purposes, but somehow I am still a human being alive and still interact with people in my real life thing. I'll bitch about I'll go into podcasts and talk about the knockout game. Like he's very old school with his right wing references. Like he'll bring up the knockout game.
Like he could interview somebody who I think is like less incendiary on the right wing. Like he could interview, I don't know, like Perfume Nationalist or like he could interview me. Oh, that's never going to fucking happen.
Here's the thing. Would you do it knowing that he would just use it to feed off? Would you do it, Gio?
I would have to make a serious executive decision because I would not want to be framed as like a representative of like some kind of hot take economy. But it would be huge promotion. And I would seriously consider it. I wouldn't say yes. I don't know if I would say yes, but I would seriously consider it.
I wouldn't even blink. I think the format's pretty safe. I would sell you guys out too.
Yeah,
I was radicalized by Gio Pengelly.
I would say yes, but only if we talked about shit that just wasn't like whatever's on the timeline.
Yeah.
Like I think, you know what? I think like I would have to be like, you know, if it was like to promote my art, to promote my book, I would do it. But like,
Yeah, how I left the art right pipeline.
Wait, we were supposed to be voting if Joshua is a slop king, and instead we're bidding our own slop fiefdoms. It's like putting ourselves on how sloppy we're willing to get.
Listen, I got radicalized by Mythos of America and Gio Penicelli.
I got radicalized by Mytho America. By that picture of the women with Ugg boots. Yeah.
Oh, dude, if you go on there, you got to hit him with your signature "the lion rapes the dog" pose. You know, that picture of you. You got to hit him with it. You got to hit him with that pose.
Maybe he should interview like Douglas P. from like, oh my god, he'll like interview like David Tibbet and like Boyd Rice. Douglas P.
Unironically, Dave Green would be the pick if I could put they would vibe.
Fit. Yeah, he would be perfect fit.
That would actually be a really great conversation because Green would just call him out on his bullshit. It would be actually extremely educational.
See, I wouldn't do that because I'd be like totally deferential to him, even though I'm like totally bashing Joshua Citarella. I'd be like, listen, man, there's kind of a podcast where I kind of call you a fucking evil podcaster, but like, no, I'm shameless that way, man. I can't like hate somebody that invites me on.
Well, listen, you gotta play it Straussian. You gotta wear the black fez while you go on there.
Yeah. But I feel like you're right. Dave Green definitely would like shred him. Like he would be like, he wouldn't do it overtly, but he would like at least he would edge. Yeah.
He would inject like narrative disrupting bombs as they went for sure.
Whereas like I think Sam Hyde would probably
fuck with him. Yeah,
dude, I wouldn't want to interview Sam Hyde. Like he's a little. He just like headlocks people unpredictably. You don't know what you're walking in on.
You're just sensitive by your gorilla nest. You don't want your gorilla nest disrupted. But to rank them, I'd say objectively the most normie safe ones. I didn't watch the Fantano one. I couldn't. I just can't stomach listening to.
I can't. I hate him so much. I can't do it.
It's just the Judas energy. The Judas particles are just so strong with Fantano. Probably that one though. He still is safe, edgy, safe normie pick. Most likely normies will watch the Anthony Fantano one. The most revealing, I'd say, is the Kyle Kalinske one. Not for Kalinske and anything Kalinske said. It's like literally the last 30 minutes. Like Citarella goes mask off and says, "Listen, I will bribe them. The key strategy is to bribe them with like free healthcare, and then we can get back to wherever we want afterwards." That's where Citarella goes mask off in the last 30 minutes of that interview with Kyle Kalinske. So most enlightening for like Chud, like OPSEC research, like a scouting research, Kyle Kalinske, Andrew Callahan, Taylor Lorenz, and their views on the vibe shift. Like that's such a stale, like the vibe shift. That's their version of our vibe shift video. Like, you know, let's be honest, the vibe shift, they're more accurately correct when saying October 7th. That is much more of a vibe shift and much more
100%.
Of a fertile and virile vibe shift than the Trump revolution at this point. That is far more of an effective vibe shift than the Trump revolution in many ways. So I'd
100% agree with that take, yeah.
I'd say for both education and entertainment, Taylor Lorenz. So
edutainment. You're talking about face fucking.
Oh, yeah. You can Google it. Ayla was also very funny. The only time he talks about HBD and race and IQ was with fucking Ayla.
She's taking those Nathan Kofnas talking points, yeah.
So for edutainment, I'd say Taylor Lorenz, Ayla. For pure education, Fukuyama. Yeah, for just pure like political anthropology, Fukuyama was actually generally a decent interview. And all the persons who don't have a Twitter account, like the Vivek dude, the theory cells, that's perfect one. But for like slop entertainment, easily Taylor Lorenz, J-Reg. I don't care what JJ says. He's also a cardboard cutout in his own way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what did Hassan Piker say in his interview with?
I also did not. I can't stand listening.
I just listened to that one. It's pretty bullshit. It's just him. It's the same talking points about how the right has taken over social media. America sucks. When I came here when I was a kid, from Turkey, we're thinking so much better.
I can't listen to him because he's a fucking dumbass. That's why I can't listen to him. Like he's just like there's something so like he's trying to LARP as like a right wing meathead, but like a leftist. But
containment masculinity,
but also like. How can people listen to him for multiple hours in the day? Like, what does he have to say? What does he know about anything?
Yeah.
He's like, at least with Destiny, like, at least Destiny is a hideous, vile, and disgusting creature. But at least Destiny has, like, a little bit of a mind to, like, he uses it for evil, obviously.
And you want
But,
to talk
like,
about face fucking. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, but at least Destiny, like, he knows where to hit the soft spots on, like, when he's trolling people. But, like, Destiny, like, he's a midwit. You know, you're not as intelligent as you think, Destiny. But there's something there, right? I mean, there's something very evil and terrible and disgusting there. But with Hassan Piker, I don't understand. Like, what does he talk about? Like, I've never actually. Maybe I should like sit down and listen to like beyond like the clips I've seen over the years. But it's like, is he giving some kind of like Thumos like real like? He's kind of like Alex Jones, but for the left. It's like, no, he's like sitting there eating, shocking his dog, and like bitching about things. It's just like, it's very like,
he gives red meat to the base. He fed posts, and because Twitch lets him fed posts, so they get the again.
Oh my god, dude! I fucking hate America, man.
We should just
but
kill
it's
him.
like also I love certain parts of it. It's very like. I don't understand the appeal.
It's the Spangler Crow. It's the Frenchman, just for the lust of putting a head on a fucking spike.
That's what he is. Yeah,
he's the Frenchman of the Spangler quote. Fukuyama is the Englishman at Spangler quote. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Joshua could bear the stench of fried fur in the corner. It's very strong.
Well, that was before that, and then also the Israelita whatever guy. He was right before his big thing. So actually, old Josh, he's batting rough numbers there.
Yeah,
his, like guests turning out to be freaks. Common issue in leftist circles. Well, right. Let's be honest. Anyone politically, whatever circles.
As well.
I do want to like try and do our tally here. Do our
listen. You can't wrangle the Gio and Gabe duo. The G and G show. Come on.
G squared.
I only get 6 months where I get my nuggies and he gets to smoke his cigarettes. All right.
I was thinking though,
parenting.
If we do this again, we'll have to subtitle like yet another spin-off series on our channel, like the Slop bucket, because it's 3 in the bucket. It's two on the Kings.
Well, we gotta do left-wing ego rankings. Andrew Nagels versus Ella Hughes.
I really want to do a like right-wing podcast ranking too. Like I think that would be really
wins
fun.
Every time.
But
I'm not Nagel pilled.
Ayla versus Dasha though.
Okay, I refuse to get sidetracked. I'm holding the crown.
Let's answer the ultimate question: is Joshua a Slop King? Has he succeeded? Has he earned the title of Slop King, or merely a porridge prince?
And keeping in mind the terms we've talked about in the Slop King series, right? Like, is he replicating his own image? Is he doing a repetition of form? Is he doing like all the things we talk about in the Slop King series? Like, does he qualify?
I would say no, because he's not viral enough. He's not spreading the meme enough. Yet again, if you want, this part of the Slop King is getting as much eyes as humanly possible on you. So if he wanted to do that, he would get Hyde. You would get someone like
no.
Because again, the most eyes. I'm sorry, was the Dasha episode, right?
No,
That's the most
it wasn't. It wasn't actually. Fact check.
Which one was most views? I'm on YouTube right now.
Fukuyama has more. What does she have? Where's Dasha?
Some Piker has more, I think.
Yeah, Will Menaker has more. Matt Healy has more than twice as many.
Well, yeah, because he's a pop singer. Okay, that's different. Okay.
Okay, go see thing coping.
Okay, he's the most. Okay, that was the first one I watched, so therefore that's the most popular in my mind.
Yeah.
No, he's like Joshua Citarella. I think for being an upstart has achieved a level of success that I think all three of us can only dream of. And
but look at Patrick Bet David. Like, you have Bernie Sanders on, but you also have Nick on, or you will have the fucking America. What's that guys who dress up? I forgot, Patriot Front or whatever. Right? Patrick Bet David is a Slop King.
Patrick Bet David had fucking Thomas Rousseau on.
Yeah, he did. You don't remember?
Oh my god, really?
That's a Slop King. He's a Slop King. You have anyone on? Right?
That's such a random mix-up.
Yeah, you have Bernie on one week and then have fucking.
He's got enough fuck you money to do it, though, I think. That's probably
he's a Slop King. That's a proper Slop King.
Have you seen his art collection? I should do a whole video on his art collection.
Okay, is his painting neoliberal kitsch? Is that neoliberal kitsch?
It's a form of kitsch.
Say the word, Gio.
It's okay. It's pure neoliberalism in one sense, in that he is like a crypto. Isn't he like a crypto guy?
Well, yeah. Well, remember he has the reason why I paint. He described. I want to see all the best thinkers. MLK, Abraham Lincoln, the King of Iran, right, arguing over Atlas Shrugged and Des
And the
Capital.
communist, Das Kapital, what would Tupac and
Oh, fuck Tupac!
Senna have to say about the Communist Manifesto or Atlas Shrugged? Like, what the fuck? I can understand like the Shah of Iran saying something about it, but like you had like Martin Luther King, Shah of Iran, Ayrton Senna, Tupac, Milton Friedman. Was Karl Marx there?
I think no. They had a bust. There was a statue of Karl Marx in the corner. I think.
I think Jordan Peterson was also in there.
Oh, Jordan Peterson. Okay, we don't need a Joshua Cinderella. We need a Chud version of Patrick Bet Davis with a painting of Jonathan Bowden.
I think it depends. Like in some ways, like Patrick Bet David is like the Chud version of Patrick Bet David. Like in terms of like the word of like the root word of Chud, but in terms of like the right wing version, I don't know because like he likes to say, isn't he like a weirdo like Daily Wire conservative or something
Very
like
much
that?
so. Like, listen, I don't let my kids say the N word. Like, I really have trouble by you saying the N word, Nick. Like,
as much as I like detest his art collection, I don't know, something about him I can't really like. He seems like a goofy guy, Patrick. Like he doesn't seem like he probably supports some evil things, but like he doesn't like seem as like I don't know, something about him I can't hate him. I don't know.
He's a normie MAGA dude. Like we all know the normie. He's Miami MAGA. He's Miami MAGA.
He's kind of like one of those guys where they're like pure like they could like talk about somewhat about higher things, but not really deeply. Like
while giving the family Bible to Andrew Tate.
Yeah, like that type of shit. Like he's just not like I don't know. He's a weird guy. Like I can't. He's a
hustle America. He's a hustle American, self-improvement.
I don't detest him in the way that I detest other grifters on the political right. Put it that way.
Would you hit him with the lion rapes the dog pose when you go on his show?
I think he would be he'd find great humor in that one. He'd laugh his ass off. I think like it would, the lion romances the little dog. I think
Gio, can you explain this? What does it mean the lion rapes a dog? Can you please explain his voice? He does the finger thing now. Now, explain to me, like how does a lion is that part of the culture?
Well, you have to be you see, Patrick Bet David, you have to have a very high IQ to understand the lion raping the dog.
It all goes back to Deleuze and Guattari, Mr. David.
No, I think like Joshua Citarella, I mean, it's kind of a form of slopulism for the left in a weird way. And so is he like a slop king on the level of like, fucking Patrick Bet David or like Jordan Peterson or I don't know.
The Majority Report. That's
the Majority Report
left.
was exactly. Yeah. Or like I guess Kyle Kulinski was kind of like that back in the day with the Young Turks kind of were like the slopulist left at one time.
Yeah.
But
and popular at one point too. I mean, it's more of he's like almost like the pilot episode, like the yearning, like a yearning for a slopulist, like lefty bro podcast.
It's but a slopulist lefty bro podcast that can only like a sort of like the aesthetic of a slopulist left, but still being highly managerial, end of history-ish. And
there's a very
weird contradiction.
Very distinct vision, though. Like, there is a very clear creative vision. Like you said earlier, Gio, about the beige, low color,
white walls. Everything's very well lit.
Yeah, and the editing with the almost like the Seinfeld tier. You get these cuts to the city in between things. It's a very well. It has like at least 5 other people working on it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
From the credits. So this is a fully staffed thing and was from the get go. And then it launched as this sort of operation. Do I give or withhold the crown? Wait, so what were your guys' votes? So Gabe, you said no.
He's a porridge prince. I deny him the rank of slop king.
Yeah.
Okay. You do too? Gio?
He's sub-Slop King because there's non-sloppish elements there, but he's not a pure Slop King.
This is killing me.
I would be closer to Nick Mullen because Nick Mullen, well, again, he'll get a Daily Wire clown to joke on him and rib him. So far, like literally only Dasha, only for her post left credentials did he get Dasha on. That's his most right wing guest was Dasha.
I think Nick Mullen, I mean, have you listened to a lot of Cumtown? That pretty much is slop. Like, let's be real. Like, it's not even like Chapo Trap House. It's more of like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, some of the stuff is quite funny, but I have a fucked up sense of humor, so like maybe that's why. But like, no, and also like Nick Mullen, didn't he like sell his soul to like support Mandani?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're not saying he has any standard. Exactly, he has no standards. That's perfect Slop King material.
There you go. You're right. You're right. 100%. Nick Mullen is a Slop King.
Nick Mullen would say yes to a Sam interview in a heartbeat. Well, Joshua would be like, "Well, I'm too principled. I can't have that hide on."
Yeah, it has the sense, like the whiff of a political action about it that I think does bar it from the true heights of Slop King, Slop Godhood, Slop Kingdom. And he also doesn't repeat his own image. He's almost Josh Citarella is like almost, he's in the front because he's the presenter, but he's almost apologetic for his own interjections, interference. The way I feel Slop King savors the spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think all the three of us are all in alignment to withhold the crown at this time. Joshua, come back in a year. You know, keep up the good work. We see what you're doing.
Get Gio on. We'll
Gio
rank through the rank of Slop King.
I think my biggest criticism is that, like I said in the beginning, I think he is kind of pretending to be something he's not. I mean, everybody's terminally online now, but I think like to wear that crown, to wear that like vestige of like, I am terminally online, I understand online culture, is sort of like, there's a lot of people that do internet anthropology that have been doing it for a long time. Like one of them would be, well, you know, Catherine, but also like even before Catherine, you have, oh my God, I'm having a huge brain fart.
I could see him interviewing her. Actually.
Yeah, definitely. Who am I thinking of here? Oh God.
What's she look like?
Let me pull up the book.
What's the can situation here?
Oh, here's another thing.
I interviewed him. Peter Ludlow, Sparrow.
Oh,
Peter
true.
Ludlow. Like, yeah, Peter Ludlow's been doing it since like the early 90s. So like he's like truly like the inventor of internet anthropology. And so I think like there's been guys that have been doing it in and outside of academia. There's a number of like writers such as what's the guy's name? Toth. Darren Toffs, who wrote Prefiguring Cyberculture. He wrote this in 2002, and it's still relevant today when it comes to internet theory. And so, like, wow. I think like someone like Joshua Citarella is doing it to a more mainstream audience, but you have to realize like there have been people that have been toiling it. Like, I mean, for what you can say about him, Alexander Bard. Like, there have been people that have been toiling in the online world for years, for decades. Guys like old, like ancient heads, like Bard and like Peter Ludlow. Like I feel like Joshua Citarella is essentially just capitalizing on the work. I don't want to be like so mean because obviously he is doing something original in the sense like he's discovered this niche. But like it's sort of like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, where he's like, you didn't build it, you took research from people that came before you, and before you knew what you had, you slapped a logo on a lunchbox and you sold it.
You merely adopted the Slop.
Yeah. And before you knew what you had, you were so focused on if you could do it that you didn't question why you should. You know? But no, I think like he built the research, he took research that came before him, he took an audience that came before him, and before you knew it, it's like there's the Patreon, there's the thing, there's the logo, there's the fucking white wall millennial gray aesthetic, and bam. You know, I don't want to be mean. But I feel like there has been people that are going in relative obscurity that have done far better work than Joshua Citarella when it comes to the internet. And I I'm glad that my friend Default's getting recognition now. But yeah, that's my main critique, I think.
Yeah.
It's evil podcasting.
Yeah, actually,
it's your main
Shout out to Paul Talk. Shout out to Paul Rhodes. Evil art, evil podcasting. Yeah.
Actually, I just came to realize, it's safe normism. You know who else would be really good? I'll probably be Pedro Gonzalez, actually.
Oh my God, yes.
That would be one. Yeah. Did Kashuta?
She would cream herself immediately. The opportunity to insult. Is she even still alive? She, as far as I know, she just vanished.
She would have to lose weight first, all right? She got to get rid of those puppy
No,
cheeks.
she's not that big. Come on, Gabe.
I'm sorry. I'm firmly that she could gain a few. I'm firmly in your camp. I'm sorry. But
I feel like I can't bash it to her, man. She gave me a huge solid back in the day, but no, I feel like her Pedro Gonzalez, like but I feel like the only way that he could differentiate himself would be if he finds someone who sort of like is moving away from the right, but isn't like sufficiently embittered by the right, the way that Pedro and Alex Kashuta is. He would have to be like
Hanania.
No, Hanani is thoroughly embittered by the right.
No, I think Hanani will be a perfect axial.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, he probably will have Hanani on. Like, no, but I think like he has to like steer away from the excesses of like I was radical. Like he's already done this, so it's a new moot point. But like the excesses of like I was radicalized. These people are evil because you can get that in NPR and the New Yorker and the Atlantic and the New York Times. You can already get this shit. Oh, fucking Paul Scholes. There you go. Speaking of unoriginal whores. Paul Scholes. There you go.
The only man banned from Substack for stealing shit from people.
I think, apparently, I think that he would be I wouldn't be shocked, put it this way, if Joshua Citarella interviewed Paul Scholes. But I think, like, the problem is that you can't keep feeding the narrative because you're just preaching to the choir. If you say like these people are evil and like they're chuds and they want to put you in camps and it's like, in the group chats they're talking about putting you in ovens and blah blah blah. I think that if he had more of like a person who was on the political right but who is like sympathetic and saying like, listen, a lot of these people are hurting and a lot of these people like they genuinely feel disenfranchised by the cultural moment. Like you see shades of this with like Catherine Liu or the problem is like Taylor Lorenz is just like totally hostile and unscrupulous. And so
too fed posting.
She's too fed. She's too much like she viscerally hates the people that she targets. Whereas I feel like if I haven't listened to the Faraday Speaks one, but I imagine it would be a different flavor than the Taylor Lorenz one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's his whole point. Is like, listen, just bribe them with healthcare. What they really need is just socialism. You can cure that. We can purify the chudism. We can just burn it out of them.
Which is granted a powerful argument because it is appealing to things that the left has historically won on, which is Gibbs.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like there is like, I hate to say it, but the problem I find with MAGA in the Trump administration is that they sort of like broke away from the original promise of 2016, which is that there would be a different approach to Republican conservative politics in America that would embrace a form of social safety net and nativism and so on and so forth. I feel like, unfortunately, Trump has been made to like appeal to like a lot of that same like lowest common denominator Republican bullshit, which is that they do fucking hate poor people and they, and there's like this weird thing that comes from William F. Buckley and others where it's like, the white working class, the white lower class can equally go fuck itself along with like, ghetto hood rats. They can all just burn in hell.
Well, and with Elon just slashing stuff, like they really, they have an attitude of just tear things down and then, promise we'll rebuild someday or we'll build something.
We'll build back better. We'll build back better. But
no actual reshoring in like a tangible way.
Because I mean, reshoring takes So, I mean, no, we're diverging from the thing, but like,
Yeah.
reshoring takes multiple generations.
Yeah, it took decades to
Yeah.
happen, right? Or
Exactly.
just to sell it off. So imagine
Yeah.
rebuilding it, and yeah, I agree.
Well,
But
some would say that we need our own dangism. One could say.
No, I think Trumpism was the promise of an American dangism. I think Logo, not to say like, I mean, Logo's a China show, but like, there is like a partially correct sort of analysis that Trump did promise a form of like brash authoritarian dangism that could wrestle the managerial state towards this like populist mandate. And I think like him, but of course the reality of politics is that you have to capitulate to that party system, and you have to capitulate. And I could say, oh, Gio, you're fucking Canadian, you don't know anything about it. But like, you know, I mean, my girlfriend's American. I've been to America more times than I can count.
You don't have to
like,
prove yourself to us.
No, but
I'll have you know, my girlfriend is a heritage American, so by extension,
my girlfriend literally is a heritage American. So like, no, but the point being is that I can sufficiently see that in America, from people that I've talked to in America, from people I've interacted with in America, like, I can sense that politics is way more. I know it's a cop-out thing to say, but like, politics is a nuanced beast, and Trump has to play that game. And I think that for a lot of good things Trump has done, I think that unfortunately it will take a very radical departure from the current political system to wrestle even on the political right with that Republican, you know, neoconservative, like a libertarian fusionist beast that isn't really going to, it certainly hasn't benefited younger people on the political right. Certainly hasn't benefited a lot of people in the Appalachia and in the heartland of America that is being fucked over by offshoring and, you know, like, it's very, I hate to say it, but like, there is a class dynamic there. There is like, you know, if you're like, if you're like a man or a white person or whatever, that's like of a lower class, it's like at the end of the day, Elon Musk, he also hates you. You know, he doesn't just hate like the ghetto hood rat. He hates you too. And it's like the Republican Party for decades has done this. And they've convinced you that the William F. Buckleys of the world, you know, and yeah, I do love watching Firing Line and all that shit, but like the William F. Buckleys of the world, they've also convinced you that, you know, those people are also your enemy and they're useless and whatever.
I got
and
mine,
so,
basically.
I got mine, exactly. And I think, unfortunately, Trump, for just the nature of the political beast, he has to have conformed to that.
It's a tweaking of like the neoliberal order, right? But it's really not an actual seismic shift the way the media and people make it out to be on the ground.
Exactly, 100%, David. And my concern is, in terms of like the political right, my concern is that it will be very easy for like a Democrat Gavin Newsom to like come along and be like, you know what, these people fucking hate you. And they will appeal to that strategy that people like Kyle Kulinski is talking about. And, you know, they will promise you all this stuff. And, you know, maybe like healthcare will be more affordable for a little bit. You know, I come from a socialist healthcare country and it's not working out pretty great. It's not working out too great, put it that way. Not that I say this knowing that like I wouldn't want to give up a form of universal healthcare, obviously, but there's a lot of problems.
Yeah,
and
but
lot of
you'll get free healthcare, but you'll be waiting in the back of the line with 300 Somalis.
Yeah, or you'll be mated. Yeah. So, and a lot of it's because Canada has speed run its own decline under Justin Trudeau. And when I was a kid growing up, I mean, it may sound like I'm recapitulating the stereotype of like the arrogant Canadian, which I don't want to do because I love huge elements of America. I love a lot of Americans, right? But I would say that when I was growing up, Canada at one point, yeah, we did kind of have a better system when it came to the social safety net. But because the Trudeau years have so fundamentally distorted that fabric, you know, in such a short amount of time, such a dramatic and short amount of time, it's like, no, we're no better off than any American when it comes to the, you know, public health care or whatever. And so I think like these are very contentious issues. And it's like, I feel for it. I feel for the hope that Trump delivered. And I think that still could be there, but there's a lot of, I mean, I don't have to say this, you guys are American. Like, there's a lot of incredibly evil people in Washington. And it's going to be like a long, hard slog that goes beyond Trumpism to truly wrestle with these beasts in the swamp, And so I'm not like a total black pillar. I think there's a lot of good elements to the Trump administration. But at the same time, I think like a lot of people are very unrealistic. And I understand. Like, maybe it's because I'm like a lot of other people in the Anglosphere. We have more of a dour and pessimistic view of things than Americans. But, I feel for people. I understand. Like, if I was American, I'd want to, I would desperately want to cling on to hope. And, I think like there's a lot of positive things to Trump and Trumpism. But I just think that people have to think realistic on the political right. I mean, on the online right, I think people have to think realistically about these things, as diplomatically as I say this. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to like totally blackpill, but yeah, it's just I've been ranting for 13 minutes.
The mouth is diplomatic, but the hand is trembling for the "Fell For It Again" award. It's just
No, I think like there's obviously people that go way too far with like, you people are fucking idiots, you fell for it again, and you're a fucking despicable rightoid. But at the same time, like, I think that there is legitimate criticisms there. And I think that people, like, unfortunately, like you were saying, Gabe, about the Charlie Kirk thing, like, immediately, like, the for a few days, there was some conciliatory bread breaking, but then immediately we started to just fucking nod at each other.
Yeah, it was a weekend at Kirk's. It was a weekend at Kirk's.
Exactly. And, I think, like, even to criticize, not to criticize the dead, but certainly to criticize the way that people around him handled it as well is another thing, too. That's a legitimate criticism. But then people go way too far, and they have these, like, bullshit conspiracies about, like, maybe Erica Kirk, she staged it. It's like, fuck off. Like, that's not...
Yeah, someone's going through trauma. I'm also... Yeah. It's one of the reasons I'm sympathetic to this, too, is these people are in a similar situation to us in a lot of ways with different priors. Yeah. Well, this flavor of the left, the Citarella flavor of the left, is similarly like...
the citrus flavor.
The citrus... Oh, why did we not think that at the beginning of the episode?
Yeah.
Good show title. The citrus flavored left. I think they're similar. Like who else are you going to vote for? Right. Like we can laugh at them or whatever, but we're not in any better situation. So
that's true.
Humility is due. I do want to put a pin in it. Unless you guys have anything else like critical to cover.
I will just say as a rejoinder, I'm not saying this out of hatred or arrogance or elitism, because Canada's in a pretty fucked up situation too. So just put it that way.
Yeah.
We're no better off.
This is an international order. So like even calling on these American problems, like this is an international super state effectively based. It's like we're all fucked equally.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I have an escape hatch. Thank you very much. I have my James Lindsay
to
ticket
Mexico
to Israel ready at this point. I'm right there at the wall with him. Lord, I am here.
He's gonna take the Ethan Ralph plan.
Yeah.
Apparently, Ethan Ralph he had the Ralph Amell. The boys can swim, but apparently, allegedly, he paid for a third abortion. So.
Oh, that's grim. That's grim. Another Trump voter killed. The first Trump voter that actually killed a Latino.
Holy shit! Oh my god! Holy fuck!
Hey, he's done more than ICE. So
yeah, exactly. The only one that is topped him is that one libtard that shot the Mexicans down. These poor fucking dudes.
Communist LARPer, yeah.
Hey, what do you think post-liberalism meant? Vibes? Essays?
But speaking of essays, I want to shout out Gio. People really need to check out Gio stuff. If you haven't, I assume if you're watching this, you probably know Gio already. If you don't, Gio, where can they find you? What's your stuff?
Patreon.com/Genre Productions. Only $5 a month for content minded. Of course, YouTube Genre Productions. My link tree will have all my links to my Twitter, my Instagram, and Substack.com/Gio's Content Corner, where both are only $5 a month. But I want to start doing some like longer paywalled articles, but most of my articles are free. So, but all of my podcast, substantial portions of them are free, and then a lot of the Kino and Nectar is behind a very generous paywall. Now, keep in mind that is a Canadian $4. That is not an American $4. So if you're American, you're basically paying me like $3.50 or $4 a month. So
I'm sorry to hit you with this, Papa G, but Dad, next time you come around for the Nuggy Run, are you gonna bring that book you promised me?
I'm working on it, son. It's almost done, actually. It's almost. I just gotta. I gotta. I have to run it through my editor. So
good.
You'll make sure to bring it with the milk. You'll bring it with the milk.
Yeah, the milk.
I feel
the milk
bad
bag.
because,
Dad brought a bag of
we'll
milk.
bring you the milk bag. Yeah, I'll bring you ketchup chips. I'll bring you in the milk bag. Wait. Apparently, I've heard that in America you have ketchup chips now.
I think I saw it once. Somewhere.
Yeah, it's a rarity still. We're still
it's
not
a Canadian
that cultured.
thing. Yeah,
I do want to shout out to
poutine everywhere. They got fucking poutine in Austin, Texas now.
Poutine is delicious. I had it once in Halifax.
What's poutine?
He doesn't know.
Poutine is a gravy with cheese curds and fries.
It's delicious, actually.
But like the cheese curds, they're more like they're more of like a stringy and sensuous mozzarella. They're like more potent than mozzarella. They got to be cheese curds.
But is poutine like in suburbia coated? Is like a chili hot dog coated in Canada?
It was once in Canada, like especially in Quebec, it was. But now it's like there's now like boutique. There's this one place in Toronto. Although I avoid Toronto like the plague, but there's this one place in Toronto where you could get like this like boutique, like pastrami poutine, Reuben poutine, steak poutine, but they're all like fucking $40, $50, $60.
It got hit with a boba tea effect, basically.
Essentially, yes, yeah. Like you can get like even here in Niagara, like there's some places you can get them for cheap, but it's better, like it's more economical, because I think in America, this is my girlfriend said. In America, they don't have a lot of places unless you go to like an actual deli. They don't have like cheese curds in the supermarket, but here in Canada, they have like cheese curd packs at like Costco. So you can get, it's more economical to just get like an instant gravy, or if you're ambitious, you can make your own gravy and just get some fries, gravy, and cheese curds. It's like way more economical than going out, because like what they'll do is they'll try to like upcharge you like a motherfucker, because it's like, poutine's the Canadian thing. It's like as Canadian as Tim Hortons. And so it's just better to just make it at home. If you're an American, just buy the cheese curds. Don't, like, you can use mozzarella as a substitute. If you're in New Jersey, my fellow New Jerseyans, Italians, they call it mutts. But basically, cheese curds are like the more fresher mozzarella. It's like if you're going to New Jersey and they got a mutts, it's got the milk dripping off it. That'll substitute for poutine as well. That's pretty good. Because New Jersey is outside of it is like the diaspora ethno state of Italy. So
it's the Italian. It's the Italian Israel. You can always go there.
It's the Italian Israel. Yeah. Like, I'm so fucking pissed off. The Devils absolutely destroyed the Maple Leafs last night. I was so angry. I was so angry. But I gotta admit, okay, it was. I know they kicked the ass of the Maple Leafs in the playoffs when I was a kid, but it was pretty fun watching the Scott Stevens New Jersey Devils. That was pretty fun, when he like fucking he ruins Scott Stevens has ruined multiple careers with open ice hits. And by the way, now that I mention it, shout out to my super fan Scott Stevens Groiper on Twitter. I'm sure he's going to listen to this. So shout out to my super fan Scott Stevens Groiper.
Yeah, big love to you, Scott Stevens. I wanted to shout out your recent essay, "Lifeless Dead," which quotes R. Scott Baker. I never know how to say his name, but which is a good
Scott
callback.
Bacher,
for all the darkness came before heads out there.
You were. I never read his side, but you were a Bacher fan.
I like him. Yeah. I actually think he loses his style as he goes, but as a whole, we're probably gonna do an episode of him at some point.
Nice.
John of Fedbook actually is a big fan of his too. So
I
maybe
think
pull him
Jonathan,
in.
he liked my essay too. Yeah. So
yeah, he's a great guy.
Um,
And obviously, if you listen this far, for the love of God, like, comment, subscribe, rate us on whatever the fuck
subscribe to
you're on.
the
Come on,
sidebar.
Okay, let's go.
The Fedbook episode was actually quite good. I liked the Fedbook episode. That was really great.
Oh,
It was really. It was a great way to start off season 2. It was a great return to form.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk Slop King episode was also Kino.
Yeah, our most controversial episode.
Well, some people wouldn't even share it because it was so controversial. Some co-hosts wouldn't even retweet their own episode, believe it or not. They were so terrified of offending someone.
I have my own Joshua Citarella effect, all right? It's called praxis. It's called practical politique. Thank you very much.
Sensible centrist over here.
Sensible centrism. Oh, apparently, AA came out with a new book.
Oh, yeah,
good.
I saw that. Imperial Press, yeah.
Anyway, we'll wrap it there. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And bye.
God bless.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Papa G, for coming. We appreciate it. I look forward to your next, bi-yearly visit.